Everything seems to have settled down. With his own world, why should this guy stop for a while? It's too cruel. The originally stable multi-universe can hardly have a bloody battle of multiple-level universes for hundreds of millions of years. However, since Martin's rise, wars have broken out frequently and countless worlds have been destroyed as a result. The Lord of Order, the Lord of Chaos, the middleman, now is the Beholder. Is this guy a lunatic? Where can I go to kill? Too cruel, there is no need to provoke him. Many ancient gods watched the birth of the new world and communicated in low voices. The gazes that looked at Martin revealed a strong sense of dread. It's so good. As long as there is Martin's place, something bad will happen. Deep in the multi-universe, an unknown dimension. What? The Beholder is dead. I don't care about the death of the Beholder, or that weird ghost is dead. What I am more concerned about is that Martin actually joined forces with Emperor Wyshan. This is not good news. The huge amounts of shadows emerged. Sithorn watched the changes of the multi-universe with a bitter expression on his face. He who was licking his wounds silently, saw that Martin, who caused him to fall to this step, became a mega-universe. The existence of, the unwillingness in that heart is even stronger. But miraculously, the hatred and anger in his heart were less. HMPH, those bastards always laugh at me secretly, saying that I was beaten to death by a humble mortal. HMPH, but they are in order and chaos, but there is not even a whole body left. Who is an idiot? Must. Sithorn has a hideous face. Sithorn has been deeply ashamed since he was put on the ground by Martin with a series of combinations of Supreme God Armor plus Leadership Module plus Infinite Gems, and even the Chaos Force he was holding was crippled by half. But now that Martin is getting stronger and stronger, and the idiots who killed him are jumping around, there is a hint of joy in his heart. Sure enough, it's not that the great Lord Sithorn is too weak, but this Martin is too evil. His ability to escape from Martin is already a great feat, at least much stronger than the Beholder. But now, Martin has teamed up with Wyshandi, and this is the bad news that Sithorn has to worry about. It seems that I can only contact those guys. Although I am more inclined to find opportunities to swallow them than to join forces with them. I think they have the same idea as me. Sithorn sneered again and again. How brilliant was the second generation of gods that year, and the civil war that was detonated by the snake god Set and his underworld Sithorn was completely ruined. It was a crazy era that swallowed each other. Now, in order to deal with the threats of Martin and Wyshandi, Sithorn had to find a way to contact Set and other guys. This was impossible. The real game has just begun. Martin, the pain you caused me before, now I have to return. Sithorn whispered with a grinning grin, his blood-red eyes gleaming in the dark, full of bitterness. Shape-shifting King Kong universe, Cybertron. Martin is standing on the top floor of a building, looking into the distance, observing this huge new world with admiring eyes. The more he looks, the more satisfied he feels in his heart. Countless planets, countless galaxies, at this moment all surround the most central Cybertron star. The original universe, the lives that experienced the zombie disaster, at the moment were also pulled into the shape-shifting diamond universe by Martin, and did not use the Emberstone to transform them into shape-shifting diamonds. He only acted on those gods, the others didn't matter. Very beautiful scenery, but it's not what I want. In the darkness behind him, a bloated figure walked out, covered with all kinds of terrifying sarcomas, and even several hands and several feet grew from the back, showing distortions and deformities. Troubled by indescribable power, Stephen stood beside Martin at the moment, looking up at the twinkling stars in the sky, and had to admit that it was indeed a feast of vision and soul. Just standing here, bathing in the cool breeze, and looking up, there are countless stars lingering, as if the whole universe is joying roar and twinkling for itself. But unfortunately, this is not what Stephen wants, including the planet under his feet, nor is it Stephen's planet. I want to go back to the Earth. I am the ultimate magician of the Earth after all. I think, when you created this new world, you didn't destroy the Earth, right? Stephen said in a deep voice. Because of the excessive distortion, his voice was disturbed and became muddy and low. I haven't moved everything in the original, the Earth, the solar system, the Milky Way. I have moved here intact. Martin didn't look back, just spoke lightly. Then, I beg you to release me back to Earth. Stephen whispered. Earth. Because of the zombie disaster, there are not many living people on the whole Earth, are you sure? You want to be the tomb keeper of a planet? Definitely, this is my choice, and there are at least a few hundred people. After tens of thousands of years, it is still possible to re-establish a prosperous human civilization, Stephen said. Martin finally turned around and looked deeply at the guy in front of him. He doesn't care about Steven's strength. In terms of magical attainments, there are too many guys stronger than Steven on Cybertron. Since you insist, just do whatever you want. In fact, I have never stopped you. As for the twisting power in you. Martin slowly stretched out his hand. In an instant, the hundreds of millions of restrained Cthulhu monsters in his body and around the source of fire immediately noticed something and screamed sternly at the same time. Martin frantically extracts indescribable power from them for analysis, cruelly depriving them of their power essence and transforming them into Martin's own power. Gradually, an indescribable force that frightened Steven exploded. You actually. Steven shuddered instinctively and looked at Martin with a look of fear. He clearly felt the endless indescribable individuals from the man in front of him. This man, Martin, actually imprisoned so many monsters in his body? Are you really afraid of being assimilated and distorted by these monsters? Don't worry, let alone the nature of my body, even my will and spirit cannot be interfered by these ghosts. Martin drew indescribable power from Steven, and directly began to sort out Steven's genetic chain, and began to repair the collapsed and madly mutated genes one by one. Finally, Steven restored his original appearance. You go, Steven, good luck to you. Martin looked calm, with his hands behind his back, quietly looking at the supreme magician in front of him. After all, he knew very few old people. Whenever he looks at Steven, Martin always remembers when he was on the Earth. On the roof of the world, the scene where he and Steven met for the first time, the two were looking for the mysterious Kamar Taj, and they met because of this. Martin finally calmed down. The many ancient gods who saw this scene suddenly breathed a sigh of relief. They saw Martin plunge into the shapeshifting King Kong universe, and then there was no movement, and the whole multi-universe calmed down. It seems that everything has become calm. This is the main theme of the multi-universe. The existence of many diversified level universes does not know how many years will pass before they will show up for activities. On the contrary, the recent outbreak of wars between the multiple level universes is quite unusual. The new world naturally attracted many residents of Cybertron to go out and explore. This whole world will be the battlefield of my god of war Kratos, Kratos roared. I want to build a particle collider around the Milky Way, Dr. Banner said. A lot of food, it's all mine. The last sentence was said by Janata. Only Janata would say such a thing. Many inhabitants have begun to flock to the various planets in the new world, and the original remaining life did not dare to interfere at all. The Kree, the Screw, and so on, all watched this scene in silence, not daring to move. We are now in the shape-shifting Congo universe, don't clash with these Cybertron guys, just watch the actions of the Carry beasts. Don't pay attention to them, our main task is to multiply the population, and then find a way to kill the hypocritical Skrulls. The Carry Empire and the Screw Empire were frantically increasing their strength, and they were still starting to kill each other. Even if their own population was already very small, it dropped to a terrible level, but when they met, they were still endlessly dying. Are these guys crazy? What is the enemy? On the dawn, Drax looked at the two spaceships at war in shock. Rocket Raccoon made a piece of cake for himself, triumphantly. The hatred between them is fully involved in the conflicts millions of years ago. Millions of years ago, the Skrulls passed the assessment of the Cosmic Gods group, and the entire civilization and ethnic group continued. They immediately burst out of mentality, civilization was prosperous, and technology exploded. The arrogant Skrulls felt that they were a gadget in the universe. Decided to imitate the universe celestial group, and also began to play the developed set. They selected a primitive planet and decided to develop two intelligent species on the planet. Kree and Kota. The Skrulls encouraged the Krees and Kotas to compete between the two indigenous species, and declared that whoever wins is entitled to bathe in the glory of the Skrull Empire and enjoy the most advanced technology. The Kree people have a stronger sense of clustering, and they are ahead of the Kota in all the tests set by the Screws, but in the end, the Screws announced that the Kotas have won. This kind of decision immediately angered the Kree, who respected the Skrulls as gods. The Kree felt that they had been greatly humiliated. Considering that they had a feud with the Kotas, once the Kotas got to the support and technological tilt of the Screw Empire will soon lead the way, and what is waiting for the Kree is extinction. As a result, the Kree brazenly acted and directly attacked a spacecraft of the Skrulls located on the planet, and after snatching advanced weapons, they killed all the Skrulls and wiped out the Kotas in one fell swoop. Subsequently, the senior leaders of the Carry people began to develop artificial intelligence supreme wisdom, not hesitating to integrate their soul and spirit into the supreme wisdom, relying on the coldness of the intelligent program and the decision to maximize the interests of the second time. And then there is the SK, the science and technology of the people of Lu. the entire Carey civilization began to develop crazily. While developing, the proud Kree also began to frantically attack and kill the Skrulls, fighting to support the war. In the end, the Kree, an indigenous group, rose at a jaw-dropping speed and fought against the developed and powerful Skrulls. The Million Years' War. Up to now, the Kree people have not lost to the Skrull people in all aspects, and they have brought huge amounts of threats and harm to the Skrull people. Therefore, many people call the Skrulls idiots, and even their brains are filled with arrogance and shit. I really don't know how this kind of brainless race passed the review of the Universe Celestial group back then. That group of cosmic gods, their heads are not right, and the review standards are extremely weird. No one knows what standards they use to evaluate civilization. The Rocket Raccoon yelled loudly. Then in this universe, is there a cosmic god group? Quill asked smoothly. It should be gone. Many cosmic gods have been killed by the Creator. Confinement said. The Dawn spacecraft flew so quickly. Soon, Dawn immediately issued a warning sound. Be careful, there is a powerful energy source fast approaching. Wait. What is this? Quill sat in the driver's seat and stared at the huge figure in front of him in amazement. This is surprisingly one that they thought should be killed. The Universe God Group. There is still a cosmic god group in this universe? No, it's not the cosmic god group anymore. This guy is shapeshifting King Kong. Sure enough, I said that the Creator could not let go of these guys. He even killed the creation gods. It is impossible to leave these mechanical gods alone. Confinement grunted twice, raised his chin arrogantly, and stared at the cosmic god group in front of him. Roar. Huge amounts of the Universe God and the Dawn spacecraft passed by, and left in a hurry. He looks worried. Quill looked at the shapeshifting King Kong god who was leaving in a hurry, thoughtfully, but quickly left his head behind and took his members to Roar to explore this new world. A new universe thousands of times the file size of the ordinary universe. Moreover, according to the information provided by Ultron, there seem to be many weird areas in this universe, indescribable, revealing endless distortions and disasters. When Martin transformed the world, he used the perspective of a multi-universe god to correct it. So I don't care about many places at all. But it is this deliberately neglected place that is worthy of serious battle for lower beings. The Dawn turned into a stream of light, exploring in this unbelievably huge world. Like the Guardians of Galaxy, there are many other guys. One by one they are free to shuttle in the new world, exploring the unknown. This is their world, the location of a new era. At the moment, Cybertron has already arrived with a shapeshifting King Kong, a deity with an astonishing size. Many residents who noticed this have all looked surprised. Some people who responded quickly have already begun to adjust their state and supplement energy. It is estimated that something big may have happened. A large number of the Celestials in the multi-universe are in action, and there are suspected high-level figures of the Celestials. Martin raised his eyebrows and looked at the gods in front of him in surprise. What about the goal, is it for us? Martin asked. No, there are other goals. Many gods have received special orders to gather at a certain cosmic coordinate in the depths of the multi-universe. A god said. The Cosmic Gods Group has a specific set of contact methods to directly transmit information in the gap of the multi-universe. These gods who were transformed into shape-shifting diamonds by Martin naturally received them and rushed over to report to Martin. I see, don't worry, the Universe King who is wandering in the multi-universe has already rushed past. Martin frowned, lost in thought. It stands to reason that, in charge of the multi-universe chaos side rule, the Universe Emperor, as one of the multi-universe entities, does not need to worry. The strength of the peak of the multi-universe is enough to slap most of the high-level members of the Universe Celestial group. But then again, the other party is a cosmic god group, a group that has great malice towards all the gods that can threaten them. Except for the leader of the cosmic gods, the other celestial gods are not worthy of attention. No, I don't care, but the cosmic emperor needs to care. That is, among the top 10 sequence gods in the Universe Gods group, the 9 gods except the judge are all the starting strengths of the multi-level universe. Let's break it down again. Except for 8 of them, the most worthy of attention it is the sleeping god. Because, the sleeping god, can be regarded as the adjutant of the justice, possessing the strength of super-universe level. Generally speaking, the high-level cosmic gods group will not be easily dispatched. Those mass-produced lower celestial gods are enough, unless something happens that can affect the entire cosmic god group. What will it be? Martin thought about it, and quickly analyzed countless information from previous lives, and soon he understood something. Diaresis. Either the primitive transcendence has appeared, and they are massacred across the multi-universe, or Martin abruptly got up, raised his hand and stretched out. In an instant, a stream of light struck, and the star sword was firmly grasped by Martin. Either, the strongest war weapon of the Aspelantes was discovered back then. Such a war weapon can be equivalent to the strength of a high-level cosmic god group. It is strange that they are not disturbed. Martin's eyes lit up. Battle gear of the Godslayer. An ordinary punch can have the power of 1,000,000 gods. Marvel's first battle armor. Really, is this war armor discovered? Then I have to participate in it. Once I get it, I can instantly have the power of a multi-level universe. The universe god group. With a sneer on Martin's face, he stepped directly into the outer space. In an instant, he had left the shapeshifting King Kong universe, concealing his figure and trajectory, and moving his clothes concealedly toward the location. At every instant, countless universes were crossed by him. As Martin sat on the ground closer to the coordinates, he had already seen the cosmic gods gathered in front of him. And there is a faint appearance of the powerful gods of the multiple-level universe. Cosmic Celestial Group, huh? Martin sneered, quietly standing in the distance to observe, looking at these noble gods who suddenly became agitated. Many ancient beings have noticed the actions of the cosmic god group, the huge figure that roars through the countless universes, and it exudes power and divine light unscrupulously. As long as it is not blind, it can be seen. Cosmic Celestial Group, which force is this going to fight with again? The Cosmic Celestial Group has been dispatched on a large scale 3 times before, defeating the Dark Celestial Group, the Observer Clan, and the Aspelantes. What are they going to do this time? Looking at it one after another, with extremely solemn emotions. The Cosmic Gods Group, anyone who survives the ancients, knows how terrifying this group is. Not to mention how powerful they are. There is still one of the 5 great creation gods, eternal. For them to stand on the surface, no one wants to confront these tricky mechanical gods. They watched the gathering of many ancient beings, hesitated for a moment, and began to act cautiously, observing from a distance. At the moment, the Emperor of the Universe shrank his entire body in an inconspicuous universe, silently observing the distance, staring at every movement of these gods. This is the world of Constructor Civilization, the respected Lord of Chaos, the Universe Great from Cybertron. Please leave. Leave. Get out of here. Several spaceships exuding amazing power came around and flew around. First, they repeatedly explored around this golden planet that suddenly appeared in their universe. After a long time entanglement, they dared to confirm. This one should be the recent mega-universe multi-universe. Emperor of the Universe. Don't underestimate the Constructor Civilization. They are powerful civilizations that can ramp up multi-universe. The main gun on a spaceship can destroy a galaxy with one blow. Go away, I have very important things to do. The Emperor of the Universe shrank trivially, motionless, until he was annoyed by these nasty ships, and then he yelled. At the same time, he was surprised that these guys could detect his own specialness, and his planetary body was full of horror. The fluctuation of the sky destroys countless spaceships in an instant. The entire universe was suddenly halted, and countless planets were wiped out by the grumpy Universe Emperor. The Constructor Civilization watched silently, and many high-level officials were deeply irritated. Although our civilization level is extremely high, it is definitely not an opponent of a multi-level universe god. Below the multi-level universe, we can kill whoever we want, but at the multi-universe level, we can't do anything at all. Compared with the above, it is more than the below. This is the embarrassment of the Constructor Civilization. This civilization that likes to shuttle through the various universes can only look at this unreasonable cosmic emperor with a sullen expression. Over time, the great universe basically saw something. These gods, blocking the water in the universe, seem to be observing. Hey, interesting, these ghosts with rusty heads. The Emperor Universe observed quietly. But in the next moment, there was a tyrannical god who exuded a huge aura, suddenly turned his head and fixed his eyes on the universe where the Universe Emperor was. Did you find it? Huh, I blame the shit-builder civilization just now. But it doesn't matter. Emperor Universe, shapeshifting. The huge amounts of golden spheres immediately began to transform into a battle form. The golden giant, whose height was difficult to estimate, walked directly out of this universe, standing in a multi-universe, facing each other. The new Lord of Chaos, this is the action of the Universe Celestial Group. Leaving here, otherwise it will be a challenge to us. The god said indifferently. What kind of thing are you? The great universe grinned. I am Nizar, the god of counting, the emperor of the universe. You still have time to leave now. The god of counting said indifferently. The great universe sneered, clenched his fists directly, and a terrifying crackle broke out, resounding through countless worlds. Coincidentally, I am passing here, and your things are blocking my way. Now, get out of the way and take advantage of it, before being killed by me. The calculating god slowly raised his head, stopped speaking, and acted brazenly. At the moment, the huge power of a multi-level universe came out directly. Facing the aggressive emperor of the universe, he did not show any hesitation. His duty is to collect information and calculate it, and report the calculation result. And now, the news that the Godkiller battle armor was discovered is very important, and it directly involves a multi-level universe battle armor, which cannot be allowed in any case. Then you can only fight, even if the opponent is the emperor of the universe. Rumble. The two mechanical giants ran in the endless void, and slammed into each other with a loud noise, causing countless high-dimensional time and space ripples, violently surging, and the entire multi-universe began to tremble. The emperor of the universe grabbed the opponent. In the palm of his hand that squeezed the universe, at the moment had more chaotic rules. In the moment it was thrown out, he began to frantically chaotic everything in front of him. All the original trajectories were controlled by at the moment. The universe is distorted. Even the calculation god Nazil could not escape the influence of the power of chaos. You are looking for death. You will cause a catastrophic war of extinction for your civilization. Calculating the gods angered. But the universe emperor just grinned. He didn't care at all. He just shot. His situation was crazy, and he would never give up without killing the opponent. In fact, he was honoring Martin's order. Do things, the bigger the better. The two horrible beings fought brazenly, the battle was fierce, and they turned the horses and horses of countless universes. Many of the nearby celestial groups were drawn in by this terrible battle, but in an instant, they turned into dust and were completely wiped out. Go to hell. The universe emperor had a ferocious face and was full of brutality. He shot one after another, and the terrifying chaotic rules swept across him, and suppressed the calculation god in front of him. Even in the multi-level universe, even if the energy is infinite between each other, it is still divided into 3, 6 or 9 levels. There is no doubt that the cosmic emperor who has swallowed the Lord of Chaos is the top level of the multi-level universe. Boom. The emperor of the universe slammed the calculation deity with a fierce punch, mixed with endless energy, and the blessing of chaotic rules. At this moment, all poured onto the calculation deity. Only heard a loud noise that shook countless worlds in a terrifying shockwave, and the time was extinguished. In space, a terrible depression immediately appeared on the body of the calculation god. Click. The fragments shattered, and the calculation god roared furiously. Looking down, his powerful armor that could carry the multi-universe Big Bang was actually shattered by the emperor of the universe, revealing the internal body structure. Cosmic Celestial Group. That's it. That's it. Even the great universe can't take a punch, so it deserves to be called roar? The emperor of universe laughed, the terrifying laughter with strong malice and chaotic will. Where it spread, many gods could not help but let out a scream. The whole body began to burst out with light, body functions and procedures. It was all chaotic and exploded in the next second. The calculation god was frightened and angry, looking at the giant in front of him, a strong sense of dread. As a senior of the cosmic god group, he has experienced countless major events and personally participated in countless wars, but never before has he felt the aura of death like this. The great universe. How long has it been since its birth? Has it grown to such a rapid pace? Even the ancient gods that existed before the birth of multi-universe can't even confront each other head-on? Tell me, what are you looking for? Maybe it's what I need. The great universe constantly attacked, one blow after another, to the half-dead that the calculation gods had beaten to life. Every heavy punch indirectly exploded countless worlds. Many ancient gods looked at this cruel fellow in shock and fear. Half of the head of the calculation god was blown up, but he sneered and said, "You don't want to know our actions. The emperor of the universe, you were just lucky. Martin personally defeated the Chaos Lord and fed it to you. Eat, you can grow up to now because of luck, not because of how great you are." Hiss. The emperor of the universe laughed grinningly, and a terrifying laughter erupted. His eyes showed deep tyranny and bloodthirsty. He immediately stretched out 2 fingers and tore off the arm of the calculating god, which was extremely cruel. Let go of the calculation god. Emperor Universe, you are declaring war on the Universe Celestial Group. You will regret it. On behalf of one force, declare war on the top of another ancient force? Did Martin agree? A god of heaven watched this scene with great anger. Their noble and multi-level universe gods were crushed little by the emperor of the universe in the manner of almost torturing dolls. The Emperor Universe just sneered, and tore off one of the thighs of the calculation god. These stupid heads actually asked him whether the creator agreed. Hee hee, this is exactly Martin's order. From afar, Martin watched this scene indifferently. Sooner or later, there will be a full-scale war between Cybertron and the Universe Celestial Group. In addition to the Judge, the Celestial Group will also have 9 multi-level Universe Celestial Gods. Killing one counts as one. If I can capture the battle armor of the Godslayer and transform it into a multi-level universe shape-shifting King Kong. With such a calculation, the situation can become 4 to 8. Kill him. A cold light flashed under Martin's eyes and ordered. After receiving the message from the fire, the Emperor of the Universe flashed a violent bloodthirsty cold light in his eyes. Under the unbelievable gaze of the calculation god, he severely crushed it and killed it completely. Ends. Boom. There was a loud noise. The calculation god is dead. The top 10 ancient existences were killed by the brutal and reckless Universe Emperor at this moment. Do not. You bastard, how dare you? War. You are starting a war between 2 major forces. Many gods were stunned and roared frantically. In the next moment, many furious figures immediately descended, and a god of multiple level universe finally descended. They looked at the remains of the calculating gods in shock, and immediately stared at the Emperor of the Universe. The new Lord of Chaos, you will die here. Even if you are the rule entity of this multi-universe, you will definitely have to pay for your actions. Several terrifying gods killed the universe in a sudden hiss. A sword light suddenly appeared, with awe-inspiring murderous intent, and without leaving a hand, a god was even struck by this sword, and the powerful armor was answered on the spot with a deep gully. Martin appeared slowly, his face full of hostility, but with a deep daze, he didn't seem to know what was going on. What are you doing? Martin wondered. Your subordinate killed a noble god. He needs to pay a price, experimental god De Fulong said angrily. What? I see, Emperor Universe, you made the mistake of huge amounts of. Now, go back to Cybertron. You are not allowed to appear in multi-universe without my order. You need to atone for your adventure. Martin has a solemn expression and yells. Many gods became even more angry, shifting their gazes and staring at Martin. He killed our seniors, is this your response? The experimental god snarled. Response? No, I'm just showing your face. Martin's face was full of smiles, and he looked very gentle. This is an accident. Why are you entangled with this? As for the poor god, he died when he died, it's a shame. Martin confronted each other extremely strongly, and looked at the guys in front of him with a smile without a smile. A trace of murder flashed deep in his eyes. If I could kill these guys in one go, it would be almost. Just when the situation is tense and deadlocked. In the universe surrounded by many celestial gods, a powerful wave suddenly spread. In the universe surrounded by many existences. It was still calm, except for the aloft cosmic gods who watched tremblingly the gods who surrounded their world from the outside world. The other beings were completely unaware of it. Tony has been upset recently. He frowned tightly, and on the screen in front of him, Jarvis was loyally broadcasting news from all over the world. Damn, the whole world has been screened by Fu Manchu. Tony took a sip of his drink and cursed. Major media are reporting that he lost to Mandarin from the east, and now 10 rings are raging across the United States in droves, unstoppable. Tony fished his ears. Jarvis, have you found Mandarin's place? Not yet, sir. The other party is more difficult to deal with than we thought, and the other party's 10 rings also have a powerful super ability, which can interfere with our tracking. Ring. Tony's face was extremely solemn. He was defeated to Mandarin. He knew the horror of the 10 rings better than anyone. According to his assessment, the combined force of the 10 rings was no less than the power of an infinite gems, which could be called the universe. Top artifact. Then I will think of a way. I will come up with a new tracking algorithm. Tony put down his wine glass. At this moment, the originally sealed laboratory door was suddenly opened. Sir, my defense system was breached, Jarvis said suddenly. The intelligent butler's powerful defense system was broken by an unknown enemy without holding it for a second, completely losing control of the laboratory. A strangely shaped robot is slowly walking into the house. Aren't you the butler robot my father left me? You should sleep in the warehouse now, and I have never authorized you to enter my secret laboratory. Tony stared in shock. Of this robot. For decades, he almost forgot about the robot that accompanied him through his childhood. With the passing of Howard Stark, the robot named was also sealed by Tony at the time. Mandarin's power is beyond the realm, you know. Magic and divine power are forbidden for you. Master Tony, you can't defeat him now, and the technology you have cannot suppress him. Turning a deaf ear to ears, he walked over and said, Master, you need more power. Tony had no expression on his face. Secretly he was ready to put on the battle armor for battle. It was so weird and full of mystery that this suddenly activated automatically. Tony sarcastically said, What advice can you give me? A complete set of mature technology. With a stiff mechanical voice, he slowly said, You don't need new technology, Master Tony. What you really need is a battle armor that can engage with powerful gods head-on, and I can help you find that ancient battle armor. Tony just kept sneering, and immediately there was the powerful armor roar flying over, and he was put on in an instant. With his arms raised, the energy cannon has completed its energy storage and pointed directly at the mysterious robot, and said coldly, I suspect that you have been invaded by Ultron and have been wiped out. You are now an Ultron robot. No, Master Tony, Ultron's low-end intelligent life is not worthy to invade me. I, the highest intelligent program developed by the ancient Aspelantes, shoulder the important task of continuing the Aspelante civilization. You, his father, knew my origin very well. In the past countless years, I have traveled through countless universes, and finally came here and selected you, Tony Stark. Before you were born, I have selected you, and you will be responsible for the continuation. The important task of the Spillant civilization. There are a lot of nonsense, Jarvis. Invade this guy immediately. I need to collect all the internal information of this ghost. Tony said solemnly. It's useless. Jarvis is just a strong artificial intelligence. In the entire universe, it is actually a very outdated program. He said stiffly. As soon as the voice fell, the control of Tony's armor fell into its hands. Tony's face turned dark, and he said in a bad mood, What do you want to do? With his eyes lit up, he immediately cast out a picture and image that I do not know from the ancient years to the present. A terrifying armor is fighting in an endless multi-universe, powerful rule weapons, terrifying energy proliferation efficiency, and instantaneous. Destroyed one after another galaxy. Aspirant, an ancient and powerful civilization, once the top technological civilization of the multi-universe, they have mastered the technology to the extent that they can modify the rule to create the universe. The entire multi-universe can be rampant. But at the peak, it was sniped by the universe celestial group, and the two major forces broke out a terrible war. Opened the mouth. Tony's face was solemn. These robots can actually confront the cosmic gods. This is the messenger of God, the mass-produced mecha of aspirant civilization. Each of them has the power of level single universe, and is the backbone weapon against the cosmic gods. Said, at the end of the war, we developed it. A super weapon that can end the war, a powerful armor that can destroy the entire multi-universe, but at this time, we were attacked by several high-level members of the celestial group. The last battle, the destruction of civilization, this armor also completely disappeared. Looking at Tony, he calmly said, Master Tony, the Godslayer's armor, the strongest creation of the aspirants, is in this universe. More importantly, the only person who can control this armor is you, except you. No one can get the approval of the battle armor of the Godslayer. Do you want me to avenge you? I can't fight the universe celestial team desperately for you, Tony said coldly. No, Master Tony, I don't care about how you use the battle gear of the Godslayer. My duty is to find a master for this battle gear and continue the Aspelante civilization. This is my only mission. Tony looked at the robot in front of him suspiciously, was silent for a long time, repeatedly deduced various possibilities, and said in a deep voice, I'm a little bit interested. Talk about the battle armor of the Godslayer. Godkiller. A normal punch can kill millions of cosmic gods. It was originally a battle armor worn by Emperor Aspirant. With this, even if the multi-universe gods come, you can defeat the opponent, said. Tony stared warily, but he had to say that his heart moved. The pursuit of knowledge is one of the life pursuits of people like Tony, and now, he will have the opportunity to obtain the highest research results of a terrifying civilization. I don't trust you, and open all your core programs to me, so that we can cooperate. I will go and get the battle armor of the Godslayer. Very suffering. It has been wandering in the multi-universe for too long, and its only mission is to find an heir, and then give him the battle armor of the Godslayer to continue the last afterglow of the aspirant. Master Tony, this is the battle armor of the Godslayer. It is the strongest battlesuit of the leader of the aspirant civilization. It is 9 kilometers high. I hope you can use it well. Controlling a spaceship, he took Tony directly into the deep space of the universe, found a huge humanoid behemoth staying on a gray planet, and carefully explained this war weapon to Tony. If it hadn't been for the Cosmic Gods team to suddenly attack, Several multi-level universe gods attacked our headquarters, we might not have lost. Can you imagine, Master Tony, our emperor hastily put on this armor to fight against several peers. Existed, and was eventually defeated. Even the battle armor of the Godslayer was randomly thrown into the multi-universe by the emperor, said. Tony stared at this terrifying battle armor, and each of the most subtle structures on it seemed to be the manifestation of the entire multi-universe high-level rule, exuding nobility and majesty. Even if no one can control this armor, but just standing there in silence, that kind of horrible depression is almost suffocating, which has surpassed the shackles of the normal rule. In Tony's eyes, bloodshot faintly appeared. Are you sure this big guy belongs to me? Tony roar sucked quickly. The deep and ancient breath made Tony feel impatient. Say in a stiff electronic tone. Definitely, Master Tony, you are the successor I chose. Your wisdom and consciousness are enough to control the Godslayer. You are destined to let the glory of the Aspelantes resound through the multi-universe. Then what should I do? Tell me a password. No, there is no password. You are the password. I have arranged everything for you, Master, just touch the armor. Very confident. As early as when Tony's mother was pregnant, it had secretly moved its hands and feet, and quietly modified Tony's genetic sequence, a genetic sequence that specifically fits the Godslayer's battle gear, the only one in the entire multi-universe. That's why it said that only Tony in the entire multi-universe is qualified to control the battle gear of the Godslayer. It is a pity that it does not know that the new terrifying god who has shocked countless worlds, a man named Martin, can also seize control of the Godslayer's battle gear. Having stayed in this universe for half a century, it is absolutely impossible to imagine that the situation of multi-universe has been turned upside down in just half a century. The multi-universe world, which cannot change for hundreds of millions of years, has already undergone drastic changes. Originally I wanted to create a disaster, and then I came to guide Master Tony to find the battle armor of the Godkiller, but I don't know why. My thinking program always conveys ominous premonitions to me. I was puzzled. It was an extremely powerful intelligent life. It was instinct to collect information. Perhaps it was the attention and concern of the countless gods on the Godslayers, which quietly distorted the rules of the universe, and then was caught in the dark. So I was in a hurry, and I would rather arouse Tony's disgust and suspicion, and act as soon as possible. Finally, I can have a good rest. Master Tony will certainly not shame the glory of the aspirant. People who live for too long and too long don't want to live anymore. After completing their mission, they will commit suicide. It's great, this is the best gift. I decided to forgive you for your previous offense to me. Tony touched the giant enthusiastically, and as soon as he touched it, it melted into it. The terrifying Godkiller finally moved after billion hail months. The small origin on its body lit up a terrible red light, as if to reflect the entire multi-universe. An indescribable and terrifying sense of oppression spread crazily with the revival of the God-Killers. That is enough to instantly subvert half of the multi-universe's majestic energy, directly touch the level of the rule, and burst out at this moment. Staring, showing relief, he whispered, I can rest. Rest forever. But almost at the next instant, he was stunned, staring blankly at the scene in front of him. Tony controlled the Godslayer's battle gear and stood up staggeringly, looking extremely reluctant. Then, his left foot tripped over his right foot, and he fell down with a bang. It's impossible. Godkiller is the most perfect armor. As long as you can integrate into it, you can get the perfect control authority. The driver's thinking, will, and spirit will be seamlessly integrated with the Godkiller. But you. Why can't you control the battle armor of the Godslayer? How is this possible? Almost crazy. Watching Tony driving this great creature awkwardly, as if he was seeing a joker, he was shocked, his eyes widened, and he looked at the scene in front of him with an expression of disbelief on his stiff face. Why can't you control this armor? It's impossible. Damn it, you ask me who should I ask? Is that what you said is no problem? Tony cursed, his spirit and heart spread frantically, surpassing the known absolute barriers, spreading in every area of the Godkiller's armor, but Tony did not feel relieved. He clearly noticed from the Godkiller arrived a kind of huge amounts of rejection. It seems that this Godkiller battle armor only has the authorization of, but it still lacks the master, who is truly qualified to control it. But even with such terrible rejection, Tony can clearly feel his own strength. Just looking at the outside world through the Godkiller armor, countless timelines can be seen in his eyes one by one. This feeling is incomparable. Shocking, after all, he is just a mortal after all, and it is almost impossible to observe all this from the perspective of God. But it works now. The size of the battle armor of the Godslayer is extremely astonishing, reaching a height of 9 kilometers. Even if Tony tried his best to control it, he was still extremely reluctant. He kept falling to the ground, bursting out a bang that shook countless worlds. Even a slight leak of energy immediately triggered countless violent tremors in time and space, with shocking fluctuations. It was also at this time that this astonishing fluctuation continued to spread to the entire multi-universe, spreading to one world after another, and was shocked by the cosmic celestial group who had been tracking the battle armor of the Godslayer for countless years. A large number of gods gathered, and they succeeded in attracting the attention of other gods, and they looked at this direction from a distance. Tony quickly said, "Are you sure I can control this armor?" Compared to Tony's confusion and hardship, what he showed was madness. "How can this be? I have obviously modified your genes and transplanted the only control authority of the Godkiller Warframe into your body. Why can't you control it?" Seemed to be out of control, extremely mad. It keeps recalling the information of the past countless years, trying to find the cause of the problem, but it has found nothing. The genetic modification it applied to Tony was originally a kind of authority engraved on the rule. Even a mortal can control the Godslayer, regardless of strength or level. "You unreliable fellow. Tell me what to do now." Tony cursed, manipulating the Godkiller to stand up. His actions were difficult, and the terrifying fluctuations that unconsciously erupted had formed a strong sense of oppression on the world he was in. Rumble. A wave of energy leaked from the battle armor of the Godkiller, instantly destroying the planet under his feet, and then a new wave broke out and began to destroy other planets. Falling into a state of freeze, directly desperate, it has probed the eye-catching celestial group outside the universe. If Tony can control the Godslayer, everything will be fine. In the big deal, he will fight with the universe celestial group. But now, it's over. Godkiller Battlegear, the ultimate technological creation of the aspirant, will eventually fall into the hands of a deadly enemy. What a sad thing is that. I don't understand. Why on earth? Lost in confusion. Boom. The barrier of the universe was torn apart by a figure. I'll tell you the reason. I'll tell you why Tony Stark can't control the battlegear of the Godslayer. Martin stepped out. A terrible murderous air surged all over his body, and he had already obliterated countless cosmic gods in his hand, and looked down at the powerful armor. With a cold face, Martin smashed his way out of the many gods groups. He was surrounded by various types of gods' limbs, and several powerful gods of the multi-level universe were roaring angrily. Countless energy waves surging, annihilated everything in an instant. Countless rules collided with each other, bursting out a devouring force that was countless times more terrifying than a black hole, and one galaxy collapsed. After noticing the power erupting from the Godkiller's battle armor because it could not be perfectly controlled, Martin finally stopped patience and made a strong shot, killing countless gods and rushing in. The reason is very simple, because Tony Stark is not the person you originally selected. The genetic modification surgery you performed, it was not Tony at all. Martin glanced at the amazing Godkiller armor, showing a trace of movement, and then looked down at the desperate robot. For this result, really, Martin didn't feel any surprises. Tony Stark in this universe is not the baby who was transformed back then. The one who was secretly transformed while still in his mother's belly is Tony's own brother. Every big family that has been handed down for a long time will always have some dog-blood stories. The cautious Howard Stark has long been aware of the weirdness, and he has always maintained a right vigilance in his heart. After realizing that his eldest son's genes have become passive, he immediately began to act, replacing it with Tony, making him think that Tony is only the baby who has been transformed. Impossible. I have been watching, the sickly fellow. I remembered that the guy who died less than 30 years old was frail and sickly. Remember? That guy could have been better than Tony, but unfortunately, because of your genetic modification surgery, his body was exhausted. He died when he was less than 30 years old. You killed him with your own hands, you with my own hands. I killed the man you saw as hope in the future. Martin sneered. The multitude of cosmic gods who came after them also stopped and watched this scene in surprise. Why is Martin so clear about this kind of thing? No, how could it be like this? There was confusion in his thinking program, and the entire mechanical body began to burst into sparks, as if there was a sign of overload. That's it. You have been carrying the glory of ancient civilization for countless years, but at the last moment, you personally destroyed the hope you held fast. Martin's voice was cold. What? There was a hysterical growl. Crazy, shivering, sometimes crying, sometimes laughing, madness drifted to a sun, and then plunged in, completely melted and perished. It's a sad life. Martin glanced lightly, then withdrew his gaze. is the most real, intelligent life he knows. In the face of terrible reality, he went crazy, couldn't stand the blow, and committed suicide. Martin lowered his head and looked at the stumbling Godslayer's armor. Martin, give it to us, otherwise you will be retaliated by us, which will trigger a war between two worlds. The experimental gods roared and rushed over, wanting to fight for the battle armor of the Godslayer. War? Do you think I am afraid of war? Martin sneered. The Cosmic Celestial Group must have noticed him and began to collect his information. It is likely that he has the ability to activate machinery. In his original universe, the Celestial Group was either killed by Martin or transformed into shapeshifting. King Kong Devas, the top of the Devas group, must also know. War will inevitably break out. Martin will never have any form of expectation or fluke for the universe gods. There is only one way for the two sides to fight. In other words, diaresis? In other words, kill as many high-level Celestials as possible. Get started first. Only one can kill one. There are only a few multi-level universes of the Universe Celestial Group, and if you kill one, there will be one less. Martin gave a sharp sneer. The experimental god was stunned, and he felt like Martin seemed to be ready for some kind of preparation. Several other multivariate level universe gods also surrounded him, looking at Martin with trepidation, killing intent. The face is torn, and the battle armor of the Godslayer is even more unallowable. Damn it, who will save me? Tony's voice came from the Godslayer, and this voice spread across several nearby universes, energy flying wildly, destroying countless planets. Give me your pain. I like to bear the pain the most. The great universe also killed him, and snorted when he heard the words. He knew Martin's purpose, and he also knew clearly that it was inevitable that Cybertron and the Universe Celestial Group had a long and protracted war, so he knew even more about the meaning and value of the Godkiller's battle armor. This is a living multi-level universe shapeshifting King Kong. Boom. Another round of war broke out, and the existence of several multi-level universes fought and began to compete for the battle armor of the Godslayer. Damn. What are you doing? What are you doing? Who will save me? Tony, who was blocked by a group of bigwigs at the center, let out a scream. With frequent wars, Martin's face was cold and cruel, and the fierce light from his eyes was enough to shatter the planet. Godkiller battle armor, he must get it. As long as there are Godslayers, Cybertron will have 4 multiple-level universes, and Martin himself can rely on a lot of artifacts to fight for the super-universe level. There are also 7 multi-level universes of the Universe Celestial Group, 1 super-universe level, and 1 less one to kill. These top 10 celestial gods are the essence of the Universe Celestial Group. The more you kill, the weaker they become. Martin flickered fiercely. When he took action to rob the Godslayer, he directly attacked and killed other universe gods. Not only that, Martin also directly began to spread his own fire source power wildly, constantly assimilating all the surrounding machinery. This is the source of your fire. I still underestimate it. I didn't expect you to even corrupt the god of multi-universe. The experimental god gave a low growl, fell into a frenzy, and rushed towards Martin frantically. The other gods were also shocked, especially the gods of the multiple-level universe, who personally felt their own power that was corroded and assimilated by an all-pervasive force of terror, and immediately looked at Martin's eyes, and there was an extra kill. Will. Such horrible and weird weapons must be destroyed, and those who hold such evil weapons must die. Martin, you have to die, no one can save you. The experimental god roared. Martin also gave a smirk. Coincidentally, you must die here today, you damn thing. I will definitely kill you completely. Rumble. Fierce fighting broke out. Martin and the universe are besieged by 4 multi-level universes and are directly at a disadvantage. Boom. Yuan Shi Tianjun also came, and immediately greeted the analyzing god in a crash. Martin 1-on-2, in a sneer, finally took out the Star Sword, while madly corroding and assimilating the opponent with the fire source. Every time he seized some of the opponent's control authority, and every time the opponent's life form was modified, the superior balance would be permanently turned towards Martin tilted this side. Go to death, kill all of you here, and the entire cosmic god group will be crippled in half. Martin sneered in a low voice, his voice filled with coldness and greed. He couldn't wait to kill these mechanical gods. Hiss. A sword light flashed, and the tragic blue light split everything. This terrifying blow was close to the super-universe level. What's more amazing was that an indescribable power was also continuously transmitted from Martin. Madness interferes with everything about the other party. Even thinking and will are distorted by this indescribable force. Star Sword, Fire seed source, phoenix force, plus the power of the beholder. How many powers are there, you bastard? The experimental god was frightened and angered, eroded and interfered by various forces, and the more he fought, the harder he worked. Finally, with a loud noise, half of his body was chopped off. Go to hell. Martin sneered. Even if the destroyer god on the side roared to pinch Martin, it was still difficult to completely protect the experimental god. With a loud noise, countless universes were briefly dyed a terrifying blue. The experimental gods were constantly dismembered by Martin amidst the roars of roars. What made the experimental gods more angry and uneasy was that the activation power from the fire source, as he was injured and weakened, began to show more and more terrifying power. He, the dilapidated experimental god, has gradually been unable to withstand this terrifying corrosive force. This is an extremely unreasonable force, which is above the rule. It seems that by nature, it has a terrible supremacy to all mechanical bodies. Permissions. Even the cosmic gods are no exception. The experimental god uttered an unwilling roar, and resisted desperately, but in the end, Martin tried to exchange his injuries, and finally smashed him to death. It's a pity that the gods of the multi-level universe are too difficult to activate, otherwise I can have another subordinate of the multi-level universe. Martin slowly moved his gaze, staring fiercely at the other three remaining gods. Everything around, except for these three, the other level Godfather and level single universe, have been instantly transformed and activated by Martin into shapeshifting diamonds. There are only these three guys. Can't let you live anymore, you are too threatening to our cosmic god group. Your existence has seriously damaged the balance of the entire multi-universe. Analyzing the gods staring straight at Martin. The two heavenly gods who faced Yuan Shi Tianjun and Universe Great Emperor had also fallen into a disadvantage, and were brutally beaten by the two powerful shapeshifting King Kong ancestors. Martin sneered. Me? Severe loss of balance. What I damage is the balance of your cosmic gods. I know all about your hypocrisy. Analyzing the gods staring at Martin, falling into silence, crazily analyzing Martin's every sentence and the meaning of every micro-expression. This is his instinct ability. I have already called the other seniors in roar. Martin, you will be deeply aware of what fear is. The analytical god said solemnly, appearing very confident. The sleeping god, but the terrifying existence of super-universe level, killing Martin such a multi-level universe is really too simple. However, Martin is proud enough to be able to force the sleeping gods to take action. None of the aspirants of the year did this. Boom boom boom. Terrible wars broke out frequently, and several figures staggered, bombarding the entire multi-universe into a state of chaos. Countless worlds could not be resisted very quickly and collapsed instantly. Everything fell into a huge amount of extinction. Before the sleeping gods arrive, you will all die. Martin grinned, his heart moved, and finally gave an order to someone who had just been activated. Boom. Huge amounts of the battle armor of the Godslayer suddenly moved, and immediately punched it, brutally smashing the analyzing god. Hey, this armor is completely out of control, Tony in the Godkiller exclaimed. The battle armor of the Godslayer has now become the shapeshifting King Kong of the Godslayer. In the waves of violent waves, the Godslayers joined the battle, joined forces with Martin, and analyzed the maiming of the gods in one fell swoop. All this only happened in a flash. How could the Godslayer actually did so soon? Analyzed the wounds of the gods, frightened and angry, and roared unwillingly. Martin looked down, with a sneer on his face, and raised the star sword, about to slash it down. Stop. A horrible figure came, and the pressure that surpassed the limit of multi-universe was suddenly suppressed at this moment. In an instant, the rule collapsed, and time and space spontaneously began to shatter. Everything is changing drastically. It seems that there is no load in the world. The specks of this horrible existence. Martin sneered. No matter what, he swung his sword forcibly, hissed. The entire multi-universe was almost divided into two, analyzing that the gods had been killed by Martin. Damn you. The terrifying existence of this super-universe level immediately fell into anger. The sleeping god came with terrible anger. He awakened from his deep sleep, received the signal and then rushed back quickly, but it was too late. The two high-level gods of the multi-level universe were hacked by Martin. Calculating gods, experimental gods, and analyzing gods were all killed by Martin on the spot. 3 of the top 10 gods were directly killed by Martin, Yuan Shi Tianjun and the Great Universe. The loss was so painful that even the sleeping gods felt heartache. After all, on the bright side, his sleeping god is the leader of the universe gods, and when the judge is out of sight, he will lead the entire universe of gods. Even if we eliminated the Dark Sky God group and defeated the Observer clan back then, we didn't lose so much. The sleeping god squeezed the hammer tightly, and the murderous intent was permeated. Trust me, this is just the beginning, and your fate will only be worse than this in the future. Martin just sneered. Throughout the Marvel comics, the high-ranking universe of gods, the big event of mass extinction was chased by Rage's original Transcenders across the multi-universe, and countless gods were slaughtered by the Transcenders, leaving only a few high levels. And now, Martin has successfully killed 3 senior executives, which is an amazing feat. He has a strong combat power, and the Fire Source and Cthulhu Force crazily distorted and interfered with the opponent, crazily reducing the opponent's strength, only to have such a feat. Die. The sleeping god's terrifying sense of oppression came, swinging the heavy hammer, and slamming it at Martin. This blow directly surpassed the dimensions and was inevitable. From countless dimensions of the world, Martin was locked with endless rules. Boom. Martin's face changed slightly, he raised the star sword high, and maximized the function of the Supreme God armor, and also exploded his own fire source, slamming the unavoidable blow in front of him. Super universe level is the ability to surpass a multi-universe level on your own. Such an existence is equivalent to standing directly on the multi-universe and attacking from a commanding height. Martin, who is in the multi-universe, cannot at all. To escape, you can only passively confront. This is an absolute suppression of specifications. It was also the first time that Martin faced the terrifying existence of super universe level. This is super universe level. One blow destroyed the endless planet, and the entire multi-universe was mass extinct, and Martin himself, who was fighting hard, was beaten to the other end of the multi-universe on the spot. This is an extremely terrifying attack. The 3 King Kongs of Yuanshi Tianjun were angry and were about to attack the sleeping god, but Martin killed him immediately and fought with the sleeping god. Hold on tightly. The sword light flickered, and it could be clearly seen that Martin was violently beaten on the ground, but he was like an unkillable Xiaoqiang. No matter how terrible the pressure erupted from the sleeping gods, Martin could still withstand it. Really defeated. The entire multi-universe, accompanied by the fierce battle between these 2 existences, began to collapse in all directions. The damage has exceeded 92%. Don't think of a way to stabilize, just prepare to restart. Observed for a while, shook his head. The multi-universe is destroyed by 90%, which is a fart to mend. It's all a restart. Destroy everything that was old, then tear it down and start over. Aren't you going to stop it? Just fight them like this, it's endless. Martin can actually hold on in front of super universe level, no wonder he dared to confront you in the first place. Eternal opened his mouth and looked towards Annihilation. You don't need to stop, just fight them, it has nothing to do with us, we are just the creation gods. Annihilation stared at the center of the fierce battlefield, his expression indifferent, and slowly spoke. He was indifferent at all, and he was even less interested in knowing which of these 2 guys won or lost, even if they both died. He doesn't care at all. The battle became more and more intense, and the entire multi-universe, countless universes were destroyed and turned into endless nothingness. In the end, the sleeping god knocked Martin into the air again, and the huge figure stood there, falling into a long silence. The terrifying god was shocked to discover that he could not kill Martin. This was an extremely terrifying thing. The existence of Martin, such a multi-level universe, barely resisted him. An unprecedented terrifying enemy has appeared. This will be the strongest enemy ever faced by the entire universe deity group. The sleeping deity looked indifferently and whispered. Stop fighting? I can fight you to annihilation. Martin sneered, and the face behind the helmet was full of brutality. He couldn't defeat the sleeping god, but at least he was guaranteed to be undefeated, although he was always beaten. The war will not stop, Martin, you have started an endless war with one hand. The sleeping god gave Martin a deep look. It's just a matter of time, you ghosts have been doing this all the time. Martin carried the star sword and sneered again and again. The sleeping god left, with endless anger and killing intent, and left directly. A new war has begun. This will be a war of terror that will last for countless years. Martin watched this scene indifferently, almost seeing the future full of blood and corpses. A big battle ended and the multi-universe was all killed. This is the horror that surpasses the conventional multi-level universe. The bloody battle of Ultra Standard is enough to erase countless worlds in an instant. The rule is distorted and the dimensions are confused. Everything will follow the flow and be erased by this endless aftermath. The Universe Celestial Group took the initiative to retreat, not because it was defeated, but because it was unable to win. Martin, The Lord of Cybertron is too capable, even the sleeping god of super universe level cannot defeat him. After this battle, the entire multi-universe ushered in a restart. This is the first time I have experienced a multi-universe restart. The collapsed universe will be restored one by one. Those superhero and supervillains will never have the memory of being destroyed. In their perception, the world should be it's just what it looks like. I don't even know that I've been killed once, and I've experienced my life again. It's really sad. Martin looked indifferently at the world that had become so empty after the war. This is the tragedy of the week. There is absolutely no resistance to the actions of the multi-level universe gods, and even the restart of the multi-universe is completely unaware. As for restarting the multi-universe originally, Martin didn't care at all. Because, in the Marvel world, restarting is a high-frequency event. In the comics, Scarlet Witch ran into a chaos wave and the entire multi-universe restarted. There are many terrifying characters in the DC next door, such as the Troublemaker from the Fifth Dimension, who destroyed the multi-universe with a fart. With a snap of his fingers, everything was restored to its original state, and the Troublemaker was just a good resident in the Fifth Dimension, and there were a lot of five-dimensional people like him. The multi-level universe subverts the trend of a multi-universe with every gesture. The more powerful super-universe level allows you to play with a multi-universe at will. This is the truly terrifying place, and it is also a level that the lower beings cannot understand. Super-universe level. Martin watched the sleeping god go away and fell silent. This guy is very tricky. With the current methods, Martin does not yet have the ability to kill the sleeping gods, unless he can have the power of the multiple-level universe. System. I want to wake up the Supreme. Martin opened his mouth, intending to summon the creation god of shapeshifting King Kong multi-universe, the Supreme, proper existence of super-universe level. Drip. Unable to summon, please upgrade the host. Martin was silent again, his eyes deep. Sure enough, it still doesn't work. The system permissions he has are only those below the multi-level universe. Therefore, he can also summon many well-known shapeshifting kings and restore the top 10 artifacts one by one. However, beyond the higher areas of the multi-level universe, Martin does not yet have the qualifications to touch. I can only think of other ways. I have a bit of a clue as to how to advance to super-universe level, but I still lack an important medium. At first, I insisted on devouring beholders because of this consideration. Martin scratched his head, lost in thought. He originally wanted to use indescribable power to distort everything he had, forcibly distorting the promotion of a super medium, but this is very difficult, although it is feasible, but still needs to be cautious. The indescribable power of the evil god Cthulhu is indeed a weapon that turns the impossible into a possible weapon. As long as you can fully grasp this power and have enough brain, vision, and strength, it is really possible to do big things. Kisu the Lu Yi line is such an evil. It's time to start preparing. While trying to twist Marvel, while coping with the multi-universe war with the cosmic gods. Martin took a deep breath and turned around. Sandow figure is flying towards him quickly. Yuan Shi Tianjun, Emperor of the Universe, King Kong the Godslayer. Hey, man, I think we are not enemies, are we? A voice came from the body of the Godslayer. Oh, and count the Tony Stark of this universe. It doesn't matter anyway, just bring it back to Cybertron. The most favorite thing in the Global Academy is this kind of smart brain. I will prepare for war immediately, Yuan Shi Tianjun said. The Universe Emperor grinned. I really look forward to it. I will grab their heads one by one. I will let them see how good I am, and I will be their nightmare. The Godkiller also said in a deep voice. Martin nodded slightly, directly tore through a channel and returned to the location of the shapeshifting King Kong universe. Unfortunately, it has also become tattered and is one of the rare surviving worlds. When he waved his hand, the terrifying law flashed through, and the broken universe was immediately restored, restoring the huge universe that was 1,000 times larger than the ordinary universe, and the decedents inside were also resurrected by Martin. Get ready for war. Soon, there will be a constant source of cosmic gods coming. We, fighting to support war, with the corpses of the cosmic gods, to nurture the great us and make us stronger and stronger. Martin said indifferently. As Martin walked away, everything fell silent. After a long time, a powerful figure emerged, staring at all this with fear and fear. This, after World War I, the entire multi-universe is gone. It's terrible, it's terrible. The sleeping god has obviously surpassed the level of the multi-level universe, but Martin can actually face such a terrible existence. Where is the end of that man? After a while, he won't be promoted to the super universe god, right? Impossible. Since the death of the first firmament, the corpse has turned into a multi-universe. I don't know how many trillions of times it has been restarted. There are only a few multi-universe gods in total. Not to mention the super-universe gods. Mingmen, there are only 2 of annihilation and the sleeping god. No matter how strong Martin is, it is impossible to cross this terrible barrier in a short time and go further. Numerous powerful wills are communicating. Each face solemnly looks at the scene in front of you. It's no wonder that they are so serious. It's really terrifying. You only need to look at it. The horrible fluctuations are simply desperate. Even the 5 great creation gods, looking at this empty multi-universe, fell into a long silence for a while. It will take a long time to restore the entire multi-universe to what it was before. Eternal is a bit irritable. This is a lot of work. The 5 existences were helpless and could only start to restart the multi-universe. Soon, countless universes appeared and began to copy wildly. Hundreds of millions of universes appeared instantly, and they copied and spread in a further direction. Restarting again, like a reincarnation unknown to lower beings. Damn, Sithorn? I finally found you, asshole. Emperor Weixin suddenly changed his expression and suddenly turned his head to look in a certain direction. Suddenly rage spoke and killed him instantly. A figure was leaving in a hurry. He finally got the missing half of Chaos Force, but was discovered by Emperor Weixin. Shape-shifting King Kong universe. This huge world immediately knew the news that an unprecedented terrorist war was about to come. This time, not only the high-level presence will participate in the war, but also many level single universe, level godfathers, and even some special level sub-godfather has to participate in the war, to fight against those cosmic gods. It can be foreseen what a grand war this will be. The clock is ticking. With the successful restart of multi-universe, everything is the same as in the past, except that a cosmic god group begins to descend around the shape-shifting King Kong universe, and fights against the existences that have been prepared for a long time. When a big war breaks out, there are battlefields everywhere, anytime, anywhere. As long as they meet in a long multi-universe, it will be a huge war immediately. Many unlucky people were caught in, but there was no other way but to run away cursingly. The battle is getting fiercer. Hey, another group of cosmic gods have been transformed into shape-shifting diamonds. This kind of mechanical controllability is also terrifying. Many beings watched this scene seriously, their scalp numb. Even the cosmic gods of level single universe, there are no known how many universes apart, all of them are instantly enveloped by the overlying fire source, and it will soon become a shape-shifting King Kong of level single universe. This is horrible. The celestial group is terrible, with amazing strength and exaggerated quality, but Martin is even more terrifying. The entire multi-universe can't escape his overlook. No matter which universe the mechanical god is in, it will be spotted and the light will be swept away. Become a shape-shifting King Kong, and then start chasing and killing those cosmic gods in turn. This Nima is outrageous. This is the power of the gods? Shape-shifting the King Kong universe, Tony Stark stared at everything in front of him dumbfounded. All kinds of information about the war came into view, stunned the Terrapin who came out of his single universe. He is a man who constantly creates miracles. Stephen Strange had a deep gaze, slowly dispelling the magical scene before him, and turned to look at Tony in this different universe. Welcome to the Earth of this world, Tony. I just need a genius like you to help me share the pressure. Stephen slapped Tony on the shoulder hard. Tony became serious and said solemnly, I understand, the zombie disaster is a terrible disaster. Since I am here, I will not shirk responsibility. What do you need me to do? Have more children, Tony. There are fewer than 2,000 people on the entire planet. Tony was struck by lightning, but soon he became excited inexplicably. In this regard, Stephen was very pleased. Sure enough, even Tony Stark of the parallel universe is still a playboy? Cybertron. Martin didn't pay attention to Tony's affairs, because it was really boring, just a mere mortal. Cthulhu. Although it is an official Marvel official announcement, it is still essentially something that does not belong to Marvel multi-universe. It is an external force. During this period of research, I have roughly understood that this indescribable force is deeper. The level is useful. Then, let me see how far it can be twisted, to be able to twist a gap and bug in the seemingly perfect multi-universe now. An indescribable force continued to spread, crazily distorting everything, and some of the low-level beings in it were completely unaware of this force. This indescribable force madly distorted all the power and changed everything. What is even more frightening is that this power is spreading madly, exploring new areas. Shape-shifting King Kong universe. Gao Tianjun, who has been transformed into a shape-shifting King Kong, at the moment as walking in this unbelievably huge world with a depressed expression on his face. Sure enough, level Godfather is still too weak, and is at the same level as the worst cosmic god. Damn it, at least the level single universe is needed. Gao Tianjun racked his brains and wanted to find a way to get promoted. The recent war with the cosmic god group caused him to feel a terrible suffocation, almost desperate. The opponent is too strong, and he is too weak. Maybe a aftermath spreads over and kills him, the noble elder of the universe. What should I do? This wave of fluctuations, there are visitors from different universes. Gao Tianjun suddenly moved for a while, turned his head in amazement, and felt a breath that was very different from that of today's world. What's even more surprising was that he was clearly shivering with dust on his body, as if he had gone through a long shuttle. A figure came out. This is a little blue man. The short little blue man and Gao Tianjun, who was also blue, looked at each other, and both fell silent for a while. For a long time, the little blue man said, "Where is this? Is it a strange multi-universe?" Gao Tianjun was shocked at the time. "You come from a world other than multi-universe?" "That's right, I actually did it. Accidentally, I caught a weird and unspeakable force in countless high speeds of time and space, and then gave up the experiment in my hand, tracked it all the way, and surpassed the long and sinister. The emptiness and cracks of the world have come here. This is a whole new world." The little blue man looked obsessed and intoxicated. "There is no such damn group of Green Lanterns chasing me down, no insidious anti-monitors chasing me, no Justice League bastards chasing me. Here is the same grand. This what a precious new world. People from Otherworld, report your name," Gao Tianjun said solemnly. "Corona, my name is Corona, a member of the original Asgardian, the controller of the emotional spectrum, the creator of the antimatter universe, the great creator of the Black Lantern Ring, and the chief follower of the Black Death Emperor. These are all me." The little blue man opened his arms and looked intoxicated. Martin watched this scene quietly, and when he noticed the emergence of a strange passage beyond the current multi-universe, he had already noticed it. In fact, many ancient existences are also keenly aware of a completely different kind of fluctuation at this time, but because of scruples Martin, all have been slow to act. It's Corona, the rebel of the Asgardians, the villain leader of countless DC events. Martin looked at the little blue man and exclaimed, "This is Corona. On the DC side, this guy single-handedly triggered the civil war of the Seven Lantern Legion, igniting the Spectrum War that spread across the universe, and even taking advantage of the tragic Spectrum War gap, secretly resurrected the Black Death Emperor, and resurrected the evil Black Death Emperor. Triggered a terrifying event in the darkest night. The antimatter universe, which is opposite to the entire multi-universe, was created by this guy. More importantly, originally, I wanted to locate other multi-universes in the Marvel world. Now that the 8th multi-universe has not yet been born, it is the best time to start, but I did not expect that my twisting power would actually transform DC. The multi-universe guy was pulled over." Martin fell silent. Moreover, Gao Tianjun and Corona, these two guys are also very interesting. Because, Justice League vs. Avengers, this classic linkage comic, the beginning is this Gao Tianjun and Corona doing things. The two guys colluded with each other, and in order to obtain a huge amount of knowledge and unknowns, they began to encourage the two hero teams to tear each other. Gao Tianjun ran to help the Justice League, Corona ran to help Avengers, and even the Observer Frogmap was alarmed, eagerly ran to observe the Justice League people up close. Almost all of them stuck to their faces, almost triggering Justice the Alliance's instinct fought back. Captain America vs Batman, Thor's Superman, Quicksilver vs the Flash. Martin slowly got up, with a weird smile on his face. It was Corona on the DC side that came. Diaresis. According to the way Corona came, I have found a way to DC multi-universe, and my plan has succeeded. Martin's eyes showed a sharp light. When it comes to shuttle to DC, he really is not afraid. As a multi-level universe, he is equivalent to a walking human multi-universe. His level is on the same level as that of Darkseid in DC. As long as he doesn't make a big death and provoke those terrifying guys, he doesn't need to worry at all. I have important things to go out. You three will protect our world. Martin ordered, striding out, slowly disappearing, and began to pass through silently. For Darkseid. Countless semi-biological and semi-mechanical horror creatures continuously appear on the Earth through a time and space vortex. Each of them has powerful combat skills, reserves powerful biological energy, terrifying battery life, super vitality, and terrible quantity. Wherever they went, countless people were massacred. The terrifying words, for Darkseid, that were uttered in the ancient god's words spread all over the earth. Damn. Where did these guys come from? Who was Darkseid? The Flash shuttled across the battlefield at an astonishing speed and rescued countless people who were trapped in a flash. When he looked up and saw the overwhelming army of demons, he immediately cursed. The whole world was stunned by this sudden invasion. They never thought that such a terrifying creature actually existed in this world. I thought it was scary enough to have a Superman on our planet. This is a real alien. As a result, a paradise island claiming to be descended from Olympus appeared again. Now these weird creatures are here again. The Flash ran fast, destroying a large number of demons. Boom. A figure wearing a red cloak rushed across the demon-like army. The steel body was invincible, and a powerful hot sight shot out of his eyes to obliterate everything. Stop complaining. First figure out where these guys came from. Superman's gaze narrowed, his face solemnly looking at these nearly perfect biological weapons. Yes, these strange things are simply perfect. They are all round, and they seem to have a special preference for fear. Aliens that devour emotions? Huh. A bat dart was shot, causing huge amounts of explosions. Batman's figure shuttled between the buildings vigorously. Although he was immortal, he showed good combat power, which made the other guys breathe a sigh of relief. The one with green light all over. These things like fear, but your power is will. Do you know where they came from? Batman spoke. Da. Several huge Gatlins, braving the green light, were made out of thin air. Green Lantern Hal was multitasking, making all of this with his own will, and then began to vent the will bullets frantically, killing the enemy. The lamp ring tells me that these things are demons. They are the army of some terrible tyrant. Damn. Why are these ghosts coming to Earth? Hal was frightened and furious. A sexy figure that also reveals heroic aura jumps, showing a melee ability that is no less than Superman. The Excalibur in his hand is a powerful armor that can easily tear apart demon-like ones. Diana, the daughter of Zeus, rampaged on the battlefield, and said loudly, I know them, they should come for the mother box. At the other end, Arthur from the ocean was also surrounded by a large number of magic groups. This is the first meeting of the 7 giants of the Justice League to fight against these terrifying otherworld enemies. But there are too many opponents, the terrifying monsters overwhelming, layered on top of each other, make the scalp numb. For Darkseid, this terrifying voice resounded across the sky, and every demon was roaring. I tried to close the space-time tunnel. Superman's eyes burst into hot gaze, and he smashed through countless monsters, clearing a path, and at the same time began to move quickly, and directly rushed to the vortex to kill those special monsters. But in an instant, a terrible sense of oppression had been transmitted, and countless lives on the entire Earth felt out of breath, as if something terrible was pressing on their hearts. A tall figure slowly appeared, taking a step forward, just the kind of oppression that caused Superman Clark's scalp to explode, as if he had encountered a natural enemy. Who is it? Clark looked at the tall figure with an ugly expression. Is this the Earth? A backward and ignorant planet. Darkseid walked out indifferently, his rock-like body was indestructible, and his blood-red eyes looked at everything indifferently, full of indifference. Apocalypse Star-Lord, Darkseid. Oh. There is actually a Kryptonian, a green light soldier of the Green Lantern Legion, and the daughter of that old thing Zeus. Darkseid glanced indifferently and sneered. Zeus, one of the powerful old god leaders, now lives in the high-latitude space-time, heavenly realm, and is also a powerful multi-level universe god, at the same level as his new god. It's a pity that the daughter of Zeus in front of me is just a cheap mass product with no value at all. There are dozens of identical daughters of Zeus in the entire multi-universe. Boom. Superman didn't have any words, he just carried the horrible sense of oppression, and hit it with a punch, blasting hard at CFBD. Darkseid sneered and slowly raised his hand, but this random move broke the boundary of time and space in an instant. Superman's exhausting punch slowed him dozens of times in front of his terrifying existence. Times average. Snapped. Darkseid made a fist and simply squeezed Superman Clark in his hand, with a cruel smile on his mouth. Clark Kent, I know you. Darkseid smiled horribly, with a little bit of force. Clark's steel body actually creaked, and the bones that could carry nuclear bombs had a faint tendency to shatter. Who are you? Why are you invading the Earth, and why do you know me? Clark roared and tried his best. Unfortunately, it was night. He, the son of the sun, couldn't use the Kryptonian racial superiority at all. He tried his best to resist. On the contrary, it made the tyrant of Darkseid more pleasant. There is no way to recover the tendency of the body to break apart. I have dealt with your peers, the five-dimensional golden Superman who coerced the multi-universe, the silver Superman who rocked a universe, and the Superman. Clark, you succeeded in attracting my attention. Darkseid looked down at the superhero and let out a creepy laugh. Indeed, he is very interested in Clark, who is very good at creating miracles. Especially the golden Superman, who has slept in the sun for 10,000 years and was invited by the fifth dimension to upgrade from three-dimensional to five-dimensional, can shock countless worlds in one fell swoop. Even for Darkseid, it must be face. But it's a pity that you are too weak and small. Some of you are so special, even I have to pay attention to them, but most of you are as mediocre and humble like ants. Darkseid laughed in a low voice, full of malice. He is too lonely. As the great existence of the multi-level universe, it rules the star of hell, Apocalypse, sweeping the endless world. The world just chants his name, and it will feel trembling and panic from the heart. It's sad, the weak beings, it's sad. Clark suddenly raised his head and gathered most of the energy in his body to the eye sockets. The unprecedented terrible high temperature almost burned the eyes. At this ultra-close distance, Clark directly bombarded Darkseid's with his hot sight. Head. Madness. Darkseid raised his arm at lightning speed and pressed it against Clark's head. Accompanied by a terrible roar, the hot sights that dissipated from his fingers swept around and cut off countless buildings. And Clark's screams. When Darkseid slowly removed his palm, he saw that half of Clark's head had been terribly burned, and it was scorched black. What kind of monster is this? Superman's strongest hot sight is enough to penetrate the surface, but he can't even hurt his skin. The other heroes were also stunned, trembling all over. What kind of monster is it that possesses such terrifying strength? A sad group of lowly species. Darkseid threw Superman out, like throwing away a piece of rubbish. Around his body, countless types of demons surrounded the terrifying tyrant, and the roar of the shaking planet suddenly reached the greatest at this moment. For Darkseid, the whole earth was shivering under the terrifying shadow of this tyrant. The waves of energy emanating from Darkseid suppressed countless life forms. Let's join hands. This is not a monster that we can deal with one-on-one. Diana looked at Darkseid solemnly. Is this terrifying god on the same level as his father? Several superheroes quickly assembled, first checked the status of Superman Clark, and immediately showed the weapon to Darkseid, and killed the terrifying enemy. Darkseid is the most terrifying enemy they have faced in their lives. Humble struggle. Darkseid sneered. First, he smashed Wonder Woman Diana with a sword into the air with a punch. Soon his eyes began to glow with a terrible red, and immediately, a strange red light came out. Superman's hot sight? He is stealing from Superman's ability. No, it's not a hot sight. Several heroes clearly felt the breath of death, especially when they saw the hot sight, which was obviously stronger and more lethal, and after the shot came out, they could actually turn around and actively chase them down. Boom. Several heroes evaded embarrassedly. The unlucky Hal was directly hit head-on. Even if Hal created his strongest defense method with the green light ring in time, he was still penetrated by this weird ray and left behind on his body. 2 wounds. This is Omega Rays, one of the supreme powers of the multi-universe. Darkseid sneered, and the speculations of these earthly natives made him laugh. Go to hell. Arthur sneaked around the side of Darkseid, then threw a golden trident at the opponent. Huh. Darkseid didn't even bother to move. The ocean artifact trident stabbed him and made a ding sound. Darkseid felt like he was being stared at by a mosquito. The complexion of the 7 giants of Junglian has completely changed. How to fight such a terrifying enemy? This planet will be destroyed. Darkseid grinned grinningly, and more powerful Omega Rays began to burst out of his eyes. After several turns, some of them were chasing and killing several superheroes, and more were slaughtering the local people madly. If hit, he died on the spot. No one can resist this terrible Mephisto. With the defeat of Superman and other heroes, desperation spread to the world. Many powerful characters who lived in seclusion were also shocked at this moment, watching seriously the demons who gradually spread to the world and raged all over the world. The Master of Apocalypse actually appeared. How unlucky. Obviously there are 52 universes, but we have chosen our new 52 world. Hell Detective Constantine looked at the blurred TV screen, took a deep breath, and threw away half of the drink in her hand, got up drunk, opened the door and walked out of the tavern. It has to be done. If you rely on superheroes who have never cooperated before just guarding their respective cities, they will all be finished. First, he threw out a few powerful magic to kill a large number of monsters. Constantine woke up and sobered up, and muttered. I think about it. I want to kill Darkseid. There is no way. I can only use the same fierce guy has come to Earth. I think about it. Constantine knocked his head. Is it to summon troublemakers, or to summon the Sanomia? Or the Hell Big Three who were deceived by him with no bottoms left? Any one of these two can play against Darkseid. Constantine killed the demon all the way, while walking towards the center of the battlefield. He had to arrange the summoning ceremony there, and the giants of different dimensions were very difficult to deal with. Constantine? What are you scumbag doing here? The Green Arrow Man kept taking out his arrows and shooting at the demon. The moment he saw Constantine, his face immediately changed, and he subconsciously changed the direction and shot Constantine first. This hell detective, not to mention dealing with demons all day long, is even abducted, shamelessly abused, deceived mortals, and deceived angel. It is said that even the powerful demons of hell have been deceived by this guy all the time. This is a scumbag of a professional teammate. What is this kind of bastard doing to the front line? I'm here to save your lives, idiots, you will thank me, if we all survive. Constantine scratched his head and looked at the fierce battle center. The powerful superhero and a group of children were beaten to the ground by the terrifying Darkseid. Had it not been for Darkseid's mentality of entertainment, these 7 heroes would have been beaten to death. Well, why did Batman get involved? He doesn't even have super ability. Did he rush to die? Constantine shook her head, and immediately began to engrave the magic circle on the ground, and said, Green Arrow, no matter what method do you use, buy me time, and don't let these damned demons influence me. What do you want to do? I want to summon a great existence in the underworld. Only the Mephisto who is raging on the multi-universe can fight against the Mephisto of Darkseid. There was a touch of madness in Constantine's eyes. Although this man had always been greedy and fearful of death, the madness engraved in his bones was also real. Otherwise, he wouldn't take pleasure in deceiving hell demons. The Green Arrow yelled at the lunatic, but his clever head immediately made a decision and began to cover Constantine. I would believe you as a scumbag, I'm crazy. Green Arrow cursed, you'd better hurry up. I don't have super ability. If I run out of arrows and stamina, I will die too. Constantine does not lift her head, and concentrates on depicting the magic circle. The specifications of this magic circle are terrifying, and it directly penetrates countless dimensions. It is positioned in a higher realm in the dark, and can be used by the very few to live in a higher level world. The horror beings perceive it. The ancient and complicated spell was pronounced, and along with the powerful magic power, the magic circle under his feet began to shine, and it quickly crossed countless time and space, and began to communicate with that powerful and supreme being. Ancient God, please reply to my roar call. Constantine opened her eyes suddenly, emitting a golden light, and bursting out terrible magic waves, and the magic power in her body was rapidly depleted. But soon, he was startled. I have a response. How could it be so fast this time? According to my estimation, the summoning magic did not even go out of the multi-universe. Could it be that a Mephisto who was traveling multi-universe accidentally heard my summoning magic, so he shot it directly intercepted? There were fine beads of sweat on Constantine's forehead, and Roar was breathing quickly and nervously. He was originally the three-house demon who wanted to communicate with Hell, but didn't he want to be intercepted by someone halfway through the summoning spell? This also means, my coordinates have been exposed, I only hope to come, with strong strength, but not so brutal and evil. Constantine prayed in her heart. Gradually, an inexplicable message was received by Constantine. Come on. This kind of great information that seems to come from the praise of multi-universe originally. Some great existences that can ramp up multi-universe can be forcibly engraved on the foundation of multiple with their own specifications, and they have been learned by countless lower beings. And understand. Let me see who this unknown Mephisto is. Constantine has a serious face. But the next moment, he was stunned, completely unfamiliar information bombarding his will and brain. What is this, the god of machinery? The walking natural disaster. Master of Cybertron. The shape-shifting King Kong creator, the supremely great creator. What a terrible name this is. It can be given in the dark by the multi-universe originally deliver basic information. But who is this person? How come I have never heard of it? Constantine looked at the teleportation array bursting with terrifying light, revealing a deep bewilderment. A figure slowly condensed and emerged from that teleportation formation. Constantine is really lost. You know, he is the top magician on Earth, and he wanders all year round in heaven and hell, 2 dimensions beyond multi-universe. The level he touches and the knowledge he possesses are simply exaggerated. But Why have you never heard of this mysterious existence? What is shape-shifting King Kong? Finally, along with that terrifying energy fluctuation, a figure descended. Just after appearing, there was a terrible sense of oppression breeding, forced Constantine's hairs to stand up and instinctively retreat. Summoning, huh? But the breath is strange, who will come? Darkseid was also attracted, staring at it with blood-red eyes, sneered, and a burst of Omega Ray directly blasted towards the magic circle. No matter who is here, damn it. This is the confidence of Darkseid. No, be careful. Constantine's face changed wildly, watching the Omega Ray hit the mysterious existence in the magic circle. A soft sound. Then, nothing. Martin stepped directly out of the magic circle, and forgot to look around, and saw the magical army flying all over the sky. This is apocalypse-like monster? It's really time for me to come. Martin raised his eyebrows, a little surprised. At this point in time, it was really interesting. Originally, I just followed the coordinates of Corona to DC Multi-Universe. As a result, I just noticed a summoning power, and responded accordingly and came here. Soon, Martin's huge will swept the world and spread rapidly. The entire universe and even outside the universe were observed by Martin. Martin had insight into numerous rules and logics, and thus made adaptive changes. It turns out to be the New 52 universe, and the beginning of the New 52 universe timeline was that Darkseid invaded the Earth. The 7 giants of Junglian defeated Darkseid and saved the Earth, and subsequently established the Justice League. Martin thoughtfully. Countless demons screamed and rushed towards him. Nice creature, it's mine in the next second. Martin just took a look and something happened that shocked everyone present. Countless demon-like actions took a break, and then immediately began to turn, attacking other demon-like creatures frantically. What's going on? Darkseid was also shocked, realizing that he had actually lost half of his control over these monsters. To be precise, it is the control authority of the mechanical side. A god who controls machinery. Master Cybertron, the god of machinery. Never heard of such an existence. Deep doubts flashed in Darkseid's eyes. Stupid mortal, it's you, who summoned my distant slumber zone here. Martin looked down at Constantine. Constantine took a deep breath and immediately looked respectful. Dear Creator, we hope you can repel the evil Dark Lord Darkseid. As you wish. Martin nodded immediately, raised his hand, and drew towards Darkseid. The decisiveness of his move reached an astonishing level, as if he wanted to kill Darkseid a long time ago. Snapped. With just one blow, Darkseid's body collapsed in half. The multi-universe god. Who are you? It's impossible for you to be so powerful without leaving a message in the realm of gods. Darkseid gathered the Omega effect, and his strength immediately broke the limit and entered a whole new level, shooting out an Omega Ray in a sudden. But Martin just raised his hand and squeezed it lightly, squeezing the ray. Darkseid, let your ontology come next time. Sharing the duplication of the Omega effect is not worth mentioning. Martin sneered, went straight up and slammed Darkseid's head. It's just duplication. The high-level gods on the DC side are essentially the only gods. What I like most is that the body stays in the base camp and sends out various waves of duplication. It doesn't hurt to die. Darkseid is a typical representative. Many superheroes were stunned at this moment, staring at this scene blankly. Just now, the terrifying existence that gave the Earth a crisis of extinction and crushed them violently died here. Just 2 strikes. Who is he? From the outside, he is a terrestrial person at all. Is it an Earth from a parallel universe? No, he is a god, an ancient god who rivals Darkseid. A superhero stared at Martin with fear, his scalp tingling. The terrifying Darkseid was killed, but this new god stayed on the Earth. They looked at Constantine and wanted Constantine to send this terrible guy back. Nice place, I stayed on this planet in a short time. Martin groaned, opened his mouth, and looked at Constantine with his eyes flashing, and said lightly, "Don't figure out how to cheat me, and then send me away. Summon me, but you have to figure out how to repay me." DC Multi-Universe is really barren to a terrifying level. Although he was mentally prepared for a long time, Martin was still stunned when he looked at the empty world when he really arrived. Looking around, the dignified multi-universe has less than 100 universes in existence, which is simply miserable to the extreme. It's empty and deserted, and it's so lonely. It's really hard to call the dozens of universes in Roar a multi-universe. After infinite events, the bustling DC multi-universe was destroyed and only 52 orthodox universes were left, which was enough. If you count the dark multi-universe, you still have a look. Martin turned his head to look, His gaze continued to extend, directly over the multi-universe, to another side, where despair and disaster were everywhere, crying and sins everywhere, countless criminals slaughtering the planet, and more a terrible figure is sleeping. After watching it for a while, Martin showed a look of jealousy and slowly withdrew his gaze. The master of the dark multi-universe, the terrifying Barbados, has the strength to not lose to annihilation, the sleeping god, and it is very tricky. First find a way to stay on the Earth of the New 52 universe for a period of time, and then find a way to pull the integrated DC multi-universe away. At the moment, Martin is sitting in a coffee shop, looking deep, tasting the latest style of coffee. He came to the DC world, not for sightseeing. He has an extremely important purpose, that is, to move a whole multi-universe away, and then hit Marvel multi-universe. With the large-scale collision and mixing of two multi-universes, the confrontation between two huge worlds and the confusion of the rule system, Martin is looking for a path to super-universe level in one fell swoop. As for how many people will die and how many universes will be destroyed, sorry, Martin doesn't care about this at all. It doesn't matter if he is dead, as long as he can be promoted to super-universe level. The sun is warm, and the city rebuilt in the disaster can be regarded as lively. This kind of enthusiastic reconstruction work is being carried out all over the world. The demons are too powerful, and the number is extremely large, raging all over the world. At this moment, a lady came in with the door pushed in, tall and pleasing to the eye. A person eating coffee here alone. The lady had a seemingly harmless smile on her face, but Martin had already heard the beating of her heart. A person? No, after you come, you will not be alone. I know you will come. You will find me by any means, and then find a way to find out my origin and purpose. Martin said lightly. Diana took a deep breath, the hypocritical smile on her face slowly concealed, and she looked at the young man in front of her gravely, and said solemnly, "Who are you? During this time, we have searched all over the world for polymaths, but no one knows that you can engrave countless divine words and names on the foundation of multi-universe. Your name should resemble multi-universe, but..." Diana stared at each other, deeply suspicious flashed in her eyes. The multi-universe god that suddenly appeared, this is too weird, and the multi-universe god who doesn't even know the ancient existence of Darkseid. I slept for a long time, but now I wake up, and I was summoned to Earth by the guy Constantine. Martin put down the cup in his hand and smiled faintly. Who can't bullshit? So, what's your purpose in staying on the Earth? Diana also ordered a cup of coffee and asked in a deep voice. Definitely is to observe the world seriously. This is a very interesting thing, isn't it? It's like a person, occasionally squatting down to fiddle with the ants on the ground, full of interest. Martin smiled. Outside, there have long been many superheroes and major institutions gathering. They tried their best to pretend to be passers-by, but in fact, they have already deployed various methods to eavesdrop and observe Martin. Drinking coffee, every action is impeccable, as if he is the top-tasting master. Is he really an Earthling from a parallel universe? Not necessarily. You underestimate the gods. The multi-universe gods are already standing outside the time rule. In their eyes, they can see countless pasts and futures in an instant, and they can instantly obtain huge information that ordinary people cannot obtain for several lifetimes. He can study now. The god has broken free from the shackles of low dimensionality, the culture of three-dimensional creatures. He can learn all of it in an instant. Even if the image he presents is a human being on the Earth, it is only used to deceive us. Intense whispered arguments sounded, and high-level officials from all over the world looked at the seemingly ordinary young man with serious eyes. Being able to easily kill Darkseid in a tortuous way, this terrifying strength, makes people tremble. As long as this man thinks, he can destroy the entire Earth and the entire universe in an instant. Such a person is too dangerous and terrifying. But since he is a multi-universe god, we can't hide everything from him. Someone whispered, everyone fell silent, and then they smiled bitterly. It's true, but do they have a way? I really don't care about it. Bite the scalp. You also have to explore and track it, at least until it is determined whether this mysterious god is kind or malicious. This kind of exploration must not be stopped. Martin had already seen the guys outside. The boring behavior of a group of jumping beams joker. Martin doesn't care at all. Some guys who can pinch to death are not worth paying attention to. Have you seen your father? Martin smiled. Diana's eyes narrowed. No. You have had contact with him? That's it. Martin took a sip of coffee. It's just that the Zeus he came into contact with was Zeus on the Marvel side, a mass-produced level godfather, which was of little value at all. And the old gods such as Zeus on the DC side are terrible. Each is the only god. Apart from the time and space of multi-universe, the big god kings are the terrifying existence of the multi-level universe. Diana looked at the man in front of her in silence. After a while, she asked, "What are you going to do next?" "Go to Apocalypse and kill Darkseid," Martin answered. Everyone was dumbfounded. "Go to Apocalypse, kill Darkseid? You have killed Darkseid." "No, I want to kill his body. The Apocalypse Star I am talking about is not the Apocalypse Star projection in the multi-universe, but the Apocalypse Star in the realm of the gods. He has something I need." Martin put down the cup in his hand, extremely cold. Diana was shaken and fell silent. "Then, leave it when it's okay, and let the guys outside leave too. I just want to stay quiet for a while," Martin said lightly. Diana paused, got up and walked out of the coffee shop. The moment she walked out the door, the self-control of her pore was dissipated, and her body was instantly saturated with sweat. No one knows how amazing the pressure she is facing. Boring. Martin glanced lightly, put the coffee down with a slap, and after one last glance at the planet, he chuckled. Since he came to this planet, there have been many Supermans who are frantically investigating his origins, and all kinds of weird magic are frequently used, especially prophecies, but no one has figured out where he came from. Come. With a flash of figure, Martin has appeared in the cosmic starry sky. He lowered his head and glanced at the azure planet, then turned around, and instantly tore a gap in time and space, stepping into it in one step. The realm of gods. In the higher dimension of DC multi-universe, many higher worlds stand in the realm of gods, and many higher gods often appear. Here is the realm of God. But now, the ancient existence of the entire god realm has fallen into a strange state. They are frantically searching for a name Martin. Who is Martin? There is no record, no information, but it suddenly appeared and was originally remembered and praised by the multi-universe. Even if it is an ancient god who has slept for a long time, it should have existed in the previous two epochs. This should not happen. Martin. Master Cybertron, who the hell is it? In the face of the sudden emergence of multiple-level universe gods, the beings in the realm of gods showed great importance and kept investigating, but they were deeply at a loss. What exactly is going on? Suddenly there was a multi-universe god, without any growth trajectory. Unless, he may not be derived from local life, could it be? He comes from the world outside the wall of origin? Many gods are a little crazy. Very different from Marvel multi-universe, DC multi-universe has various behind the scenes, and the wall of origin is a horrible barrier used to restrain DC multi-universe, which seals the creator of the DC world. The entire DC universe, as well as the realm of gods, are imprisoned by a terrifying, infinitely wide, infinitely long and infinitely high wall. Since the three eras, there have been countless amazing and brilliant gods who want to break the wall of origin, go explore the almighty universe outside the wall, but their fate is more miserable than the other. All of them have failed. The loser is to be adsorbent to the wall of origin, unable to move. Life and death are not as good as life, and the power of the whole body will be constantly swallowed by the wall of greed, and eventually be drawn into a corpse. The wall of origin, also known as the tomb of the gods, the whole wall is covered with gods of all ages, layered on top of each other, shocking, making the latecomers almost desperate. And now, this sudden appearance of Martin, the unknown mechanical god. Maybe from the almighty universe outside the wall? Many ancient beings began to restlessly and started to take action one after another. Diaresis. Find Martin and ask him where he came from. In the past, we could only think of ways to study the white light rings of the god duplication and emotional spectrum in heaven to find a way to break the wall, but they failed one after another. Now, Ju has a new hope. Cooperate if you can cooperate. If you can't, kill him. Use his corpse to find the coordinates outside the wall. An ancient secret, an unknown almighty universe. Do we, sad creatures inside the wall, finally have a chance to explore the outside world? A number of gods exuding terror and coercion were dispatched one after another. They wanted to talk to Martin, so if they couldn't talk, they would do it. Hiss. At this moment, a figure suddenly appeared in the realm of the gods, wandering at will, her face calm, and her gaze swept away. She saw countless figures killing him. A sad group of guys, or all good tool people. Martin laughed in a low voice. An ancient existence is coming. A strange god. Where are you from? There is no record of you in the entire world inside the wall. Who are you anyway? Many beings are blurry and can't wait to ask Martin. It doesn't matter who I am. The important thing is whether what I want to do is beneficial to you. Whoever stops me, who I kill. Martin looked at these gods, sneered in a low voice. The supreme god armor was finished, and the star sword was already held in his hand. That momentary threatening sense of terror and oppression of the super-universe made many ancient beings frown, showing fear. Meaning. A completely unfamiliar artifact, the whole world inside the wall has never appeared. Does it really come from the world outside the wall? What is there in the world outside the wall? Is it other multi-universe? Is he the god of other multi-universe? Many ancient gods on the DC side are going crazy, eager to know what lies beyond the wall of origin. Being imprisoned in this huge amounts of cage, it was more painful than death. He knew that he could explore the outside world as long as he broke the wall, but no god could ever do it. Martin stared at the gods who were watching him silently, sneered, his gaze turned, and he paused for a while. Golden Superman. Martin's gaze condensed, and he felt a gentle but majestic sense of oppression from this powerful god who was exuding golden light. He paused, turned around, and headed directly towards a certain direction in the realm of gods. That direction is Apocalypse Star. The true star of hell, inhabited by countless crazy and bloodthirsty new Protoss, and DC's strongest mass-produced biological weapon-like demon. At least before the mass birth of destruction Japanese demon, ordinary demon-like is the strongest. Sure enough, is it still here? On the throne on the high platform of the Apocalypse Star, a terrifying figure slowly stood upright, slowly raising his head. A pair of sights that were terrifying enough to destroy the planet, looked straight towards the realm of God, and greeted Martin's entire outline. Darkseid stood with his hands behind his back, standing quietly like a rock, but the terrifying aura of that body was becoming more intense with the passage of time. Darkseid. As this guy who killed your duplication. You should kill him and use the corpse of this otherworld visitor to set off your noble status. The tall steppe wolf roared, and slammed his axe to the ground. His eyes were cruel and treacherous. Darkseid snorted, he knew what his uncle was thinking. In other words, the residents of the entire Apocalypse Star are all bastards, all thinking about how to kill the upper one so that they can climb up. Apocalypse Star is like this, the strong is respected. As long as you are strong enough to kill all competitors, the rest will naturally surrender. This is the rule of Apocalypse. Since the last overlord of the Apocalypse Star and the most terrifying new god, by Ka Khan, he explored the wall of origin. He wanted to break the wall and explore the outside world, but he was stuck on the wall and couldn't get down. The son of Ka Khan, Kaoside, after mastering the Omega effect, killed his brother and took the seat of ruler. Back then, Steppenwolf wanted to become the king of Apocalypse. After all, it was the younger brother of Ka Khan and the uncle of Darkseid. Unfortunately, Darkseid, who was in charge of the DC high-power Omega effect, was not at all. Steppenwolves can fight, so Steppenwolves can only surrender. But the coveting of the throne and the coveting of the Omega effect have always existed, thinking about how to get these two things in hand. I will kill him and find from his corpse a way for him to break through the wall of origin and come to our world, and more importantly, find the coordinates of his original world. Darkseid showed a ferocious smile. It was a wild laugh that burned with ambition. He has been a long, long time, and he hasn't been as happy as he is now. What else can make him feel more happy than this? Kill a god in Otherworld with your own hands and invade Otherworld. Complete the feat that his father Yuka Khan could not accomplish. I will make the world feel fearful. Darkseid raised his head slowly, and finally, his overall power reached the peak at this moment. It has been too long for too long. The body of the Apocalypse Star has not been dispatched before, just sitting on the throne day after day. Indifferent, overlooking the changes of multi-universe. He is so powerful that the body cannot enter the category of multi-universe at all, because even if he does nothing, the body just stands there and the entire multi-universe will collapse. Now, there is finally a guy who can make him enjoy himself. Darkseid, get out and die. Your death will bring new hope to this world. Martin sneered, and slammed directly towards Apocalypse. What catches Martin's eyes are two huge planets that are extremely large and comparable to the file size of the universe. The red one exuding ominous aura is the star of hell, Apocalypse. The white one that exudes a holy breath is the new creation star of heaven. Apocalypse Star Leader Darkseid and the new creation star leader Heavenly Father are the gods of the multi-level universe, and they are also the combat power of the new Protoss. Heavenly Father looked at the realm of God with a solemn expression, looked at the murderous figure, and fell silent. He can clearly feel the terrifying pressure. This mechanical god is really too powerful. He has faintly touched a level that transcends pluralism, and it is no wonder that he can come to our world. After a while, Heavenly Father whispered, "Father, will Darkseid die?" A teenager asked with eyes wide open. "No, Orion, he won't die, he is the strongest new god at the moment." Anyway, he is your biological father, and he won't fall easily. Heavenly Father held a cane and touched Orion's head kindly. Orion is the son of Darkseid. The two sides exchanged protons in an armistice agreement. Orion was lost to the new creation star by Darkseid and was adopted by Heavenly Father. Obviously, Orion has successfully been attracted by Heavenly Father's personality charm, hated his biological father, Darkseid, and worshipped his adoptive father, Heavenly Father, and became a qualified new creation star. I hate the blood in my body. Orion lowered his head, looking disappointed. Heavenly Father just smiled, looked up again, and tightened the scepter in his hand. There was one sentence he didn't say. It doesn't matter whether Darkseid is dead or not. What is important is why this otherworld visitor wants to make Darkseid die. Why kill Darkseid? The whole world will get hope. If this is the case, there will be many guys who will send Kesed to death with their own hands, just to gain the possibility of breaking the wall of origin. This world is so cruel, and the antagonism between the gods is not much better than that of mortals. A powerful god awakened from his long sleep and came one after another. Heavenly Father, Ghost, Phantom Stranger, Anti-Monitor, Golden Superman, Trickster, Sanomia. The top existences of all the worlds descended one after another, watching this scene with different expressions. The god of machinery, such a god, in the end. Wearing a green ghost, DC Supreme Being, the incarnation of the anger of God, watched this scene coldly at the moment. He was in charge of the trial, but at the moment was a cold eye on what was happening at the moment. Darkseid should have died. This guy from Otherworld also needs to weigh guilt. Neither of these two guys are good things. Darkseid, you have what I need. Martin stepped out, his face indifferent. The star sword in his hand flickered and cut a multi-universe terrifying force, which moved many gods. Use your life for it. Darkseid held his hands behind his back, his body moved out, and a terrifying Omega Ray was shot directly in his eyes. This blow was enough to penetrate the entire multi-universe, and it rushed directly to Martin at this moment. The strength of the body has already risen to the limit of the multi-level universe. This is the terrifying aspect of Dark Tyrant Darkseid, and it overwhelms countless worlds. Hiss. Martin slashed with a sword and smashed the Omega Rays in a sudden. He stepped out directly and shook the high-dimensional time and space in the realm of gods with his own powerful force, and exploded fiercely with Darkseid. Clash. Boom boom boom. Frequent horrible explosions. The two figures use the vast and endless realm of gods as the battlefield, rampage, and countless higher worlds where they pass have been severely damaged, and countless high-dimensional creatures screamed and were destroyed by the terrible aftermath. The faces of some gods have changed, and they watched this battle that ruined the world with shock. The fierce battle between these two existences, the huge realm of gods could not bear it, and the spread of energy and the distortion of the rule were everywhere. The endless sense of tearing spread to every corner. Darkseid's body is so powerful. It deserves to be the son of Ka Khan. Was born noble, and got the Omega effect, one of the ancient powers of the world inside the wall. No, compared to this, I am even more surprised that the outsider, why he can be so strong, can actually fight against Darkseid to such a degree, and actually gained a little bit of advantage. Many eyes looked at it, revealing horror and astonishment. The body of Darkseid has never left the Apocalypse Star, and the specific strength is a mystery in the entire world inside the wall. The ones that are active in multi-universe are nothing more than a lot of duplication separated from the body, but even duplication has caused headaches for many powerful gods, because the power of the Omega effect can be shared without limit. In other words, the main body can use the Omega effect, and a lot of duplications can be used unimpeded at the same time. This alone has pushed the combat power of many duplications to an exaggerated level. Boom. Martin knocked Darkseid into the air with a sword, slashing it to the other end of the realm of the gods on the spot. Yes, this kind of you is worth killing. It's just that the Omega effect falls into your hands, which is a bit wasteful. Kneel down and beg me and offer Apocalypse Star. I allow you to be my dog. There was a hint of admiration on Martin's face, with a condescending arrogance as if overlooking the latecomers. If Sithorn was here, he would not be unfamiliar with this look. Because Martin, who was not even a god at the beginning, looks like this when he looks at him. Darkseid at this time is an undefeated myth in the realm of gods, a terrifying tyrant, and no one has defeated Darkseid head-on. It was also the time when Darkseid's prestige was at its peak. If Martin does not intervene, it will not work afterwards. The unkillable monster of the ancient Doomsday will run from the multi-universe to the Apocalypse Star, hold down the Darkseid and beat it hard. This will be the history of the Darkseid. The worst battle I lost. was hung up and beaten by a monster with infinite evolution and infinite life. But now, Darkseid has not experienced the explosion of the ancient day of destruction, and is still full of arrogance and self-confidence. He looked up and stared at Martin, killing intent spreading. Because Martin looked at his gaze, he was looking at a dog. Even if Darkseid is a famous horror god on the DC side, even if he is aloft, in Martin's eyes, it seems that he is essentially a dog. This look completely angered Darkseid. A terrible roar that resounded through the multi-universe came out, and Darkseid roared. The Omega effect on his body at the moment had been amplified to the extreme, and the power of distorting reality was frequently emitted, shaking countless worlds. No one has ever humiliated him in such a definitely way, even if it is a higher-level god, who can ignore him and despise him, but no one has ever humiliated him in such a definitely weird attitude. Come and look at him seriously. Don't agree? If you don't agree, go to death. It's useless if you live anyway. Martin showed a trace of regret, his eyes flashed coldly, and he raised his hand and struck it with a sword. The strongest new god at the moment, Darkseid, will definitely die here. Omega effect, he is bound to win. Hiss. A terrible sword light tore everything apart, and in a crash, it split all the barriers open, exuding a terrible luster, and Darkseid's entire body was shrouded in this terrible pressure, and that body of rock my skin began to crack slowly. The Omega effect was amplified to the extreme, but in front of the strong Martin, it still showed signs of decline. Unfortunately, you only have the Omega effect. If you add the anti-life equation, you will definitely not be so embarrassed. Martin looked down, looked at the severely injured Darkseid, and said in a low voice. Darkseid suddenly raised his head, his eyes burst into a terrible red light. Why do you know so much about the Omega effect? The secret relationship between the Omega effect and the anti-life equation was studied by Darkseid for many years before he knew it. He had never told anyone about this secret. The entire multi-universe existence knows that Darkseid is frantically looking for the anti-life equation. A weapon that only exists in theory, and even whether this formula actually exists is just a speculation. All the lives of all things in the world can be counted as a set of extremely complicated, life-birth formula. Whether human beings, gods, or others are all beings, they must conform to the life equation. Then in theory, there must be a formula that destroys all life and ends all humans or gods. This is the anti-life equation. But no one believes that there really is such a weapon in this world, because it is ridiculous. Only Darkseid, like crazy, continues to create an army of demons, and invades multi-universe crazily for hundreds of millions of years. One universe after another is searching for anti-life equations that don't exist at all. Everyone thought that Darkseid was crazy. Darkseid knows deeply that the anti-life equations are real, and there is an obscure connection with the Omega effect. But now, this otherworld visitor in front of him knows the Omega effect and the anti-life equation? Who are you? Where is the anti-life equation? Darkseid's eyes were blood red, and there was a trace of raging in his excitement. He has been searching for the clues of the ultimate weapon for hundreds of millions of years. How does this man know? Go to hell, when you die, maybe you will know. Martin sneered and began to explode with all his powers, and hit the assassin on Darkseid. In those terrifying blue flashes, he had already defeated the concept of Darkseid's existence. Every time he shot, up to the terrifying god Kesed will be weakened. Intel came to a critical point. Darkseid, with scars all over his body and flowing blood, stood feebly in the realm of gods, watching silently for countless ancient beings. He has reached the limit. This is Ontology's first full-scale battle, but unfortunately, it is also the last battle. Darkseid, your era is over. At least your father, Yuka Khan, is still lingering on the wall of origin, retaining a trace of hope, but you are going to be completely finished. Everything about you will be lost to me. Dig away. Under the silent gaze of countless ancient beings, Martin walked towards Darkseid step by step, with greed in his eyes. The Omega effect, the mother box, and the source of Darkseid will all belong to him. It just so happens that Martin is also very interested in DC's unique system, unique god, so he just dissected Darkseid alive and studied it carefully. Die. Martin slashed with a sword. Huge amounts of head shot up into the sky. Darkseid is dead. The terrifying tyrant who stood in the realm of gods for endless years, created an army of demons and slaughtered countless invaders of the universe, Darkseid, and died. When the huge amounts of corpse of Darkseid were thrown by Martin to the Star of Apocalypse, many beings showed incredible expressions. They followed the battle and expected that Darkseid would lose and escape, but they had never thought about it. Darkseid could not even escape, and was directly hit on the spot by Martin, who suddenly burst into more terrifying combat power. Killed. The horrible sword just now seemed to split the whole world apart, and many gods shuddered, revealing a shock. Darkseid's body has never been shot, not because he doesn't want to do it, but because he is so powerful and brutal that no god is willing to fight him. But this terrible tyrant was actually killed by Martin. The strongest new god was cut off by this visitor from Otherworld. 25. This is terrible, which means that he has the ability to kill us. Many gods felt a chill from their hearts. Only the ancient beings active in the realm of gods know what the name Darkseid means, and is a symbol of invincibility and tyranny. In this era, Daxter was not killed by the unkillable ancient Doomsday on the Star of Apocalypse, and was not maimed by his son Orion, who got the anti-life equation. It was the peak of prestige. Fear him. But now, this terrifying shadow that enveloped the realm of gods and the multi-universe, at this moment, in full view, Martin personally chopped off his head and died on the spot. Like the end of the old era, a new myth has risen. They stared at Martin, watched the man land on the Star Apocalypse without anyone else, looked down at the dead Darkseid, and watched as the opponent grabbed Darkseid's body, depriving the tyrant of all his wealth. Darkseid is dead, the Omega Effect and the Source have lost their master. Shall we do it? Some gods are still struck by fear and anxiety in their hearts. Needless to say, the Omega Effect is a high-level power on the DC side. Its status is similar to the 3 original powers of Marvel. As long as it can be obtained, it will have the power of multiple-level universe. And the Source, to a certain extent, is a more precious thing, and it also makes some old antiques that have been preserved from the past to be more exciting. This is the source of Darkseid, the fetish that DC gods fought wildly. In front of countless existences, Martin began to cruelly dissecting the corpse of Darkseid. The coldness and indifference did not seem to be studying an ancient tyrant. Without any respect or attention, he seemed to be cruelly analyzing the body structure of an ant. At this time, many gods realized that in the eyes of this man, Darkseid was really just a humble dog. Martin glanced at the terrible red light first. The Omega Effect was one of Martin's goals, but soon he shifted his gaze and pulled out a large group of unknown objects from the corpse of Darkseid. Endless information, endless energy, endless rules, countless interweaving of life and death, point to the core of the concept of God. Source. Feeling all the miracles coming from this group of unknown objects, even Martin, who had been prepared for a long time, showed a touch of movement. The Source is something that DC gods are madly fighting for. In the first half of the Third Era, it was the age of the old gods. The god kings of the multi-level universe such as Zeus, Odin, and Jade Emperor ruled everything. They cruelly searched for everything, especially those dying worlds and gods, will attract their attention. The remaining essence of the world in the corpses of the gods as Source. This is the core power on the DC side, direct to the highest. All-inclusive, omnipotent, even if a mortal gets it, it can reach the sky in one step. In order to fight for the Source, the old gods frequently started wars. With the improvement and consolidation of the DC world, the sources that were originally visible everywhere became less and less, which triggered more battles and bloody battles. Finally, the contradiction between the old gods reached at a peak, a tragic war broke out that swept everything. As a result of this war, the age of the old gods came to an end, and the age of the new gods represented by Ka Khan and Daxt came. It can be said that the core power of old gods such as Zeus is the source. In the age of the new gods, although the new generation of gods also took the source as the core, combined their own will, soul, spirit, strength, etc., to condense a unique godhead, but after all, they have no way to obtain massive sources, so more energy was put on improving energy and specifications, and searching for powerful artifacts. The Omega Effect is the top fetish of today's era. Everyone wants it. But obviously, whoever dares to stretch out his hand, Martin will hack someone to death on the spot, and even start a terrible war no less than the end of the old gods. Yuan is a good thing. It is a special product of your multi-universe. The so-called DC world's most noble and sole god was born on this thing. Martin grabbed the source of Darkseid, stepped on the Star of Apocalypse, looked up, and stared at the deity, suddenly showing a very cold smile. If you want to snatch the spoils from me, just take it with your life. Martin glanced coldly, grabbed the Omega Effect, and swallowed this powerful weapon into his body on the spot. In an instant, Martin had a higher authority over the entire DC world, which was brought about by the Omega Effect. Blessings. In an instant, the entire Apocalypse Star began to tremble, and all the residents of Apocalypse immediately noticed that their supreme master, Darkseid, had no chance to start all over again. The Omega effect was taken away by this outsider. The outsider became the new Apocalypse Star God. It's too sudden, and this guy is not a new Protoss. The entire Apocalypse Star was in a state of restlessness. All the residents watched the new king's enthronement in amazement. Everything happened too suddenly. According to the rules of the Apocalypse Star, whoever can get the Omega effect is the new leader of the Apocalypse Star. In the comic, Darkseid War, Lex Luthor became the Apocalypse Star God because of the Omega effect. From now on, I will rule Apocalypse, everything will be according to my wishes, you can refuse, but I will send you to see Hades. Hades, DC's god of the underworld, is full-time responsible for harvesting dead souls, and his strength is a mystery. In the presence of countless wait and sees, Hades fell into silence, looking at Martin with weird eyes. Dear Lord of the new Apocalypse Star, I am willing to help you. Steppenwolf simply threw away the axe and knelt down on one knee with a face of respect. His movements were skillful and stress-free, and no one expressed contempt for his behavior. Apocalypse Star is the rule, whoever is strong is the boss. Karabak, the eldest son of Darkseid, also knelt in silence, saying nothing, expressing surrender. Martin grumbled, and returned his attention to the source of radiant light. Whether it was Steppenwolf or Karabak, they all showed a look of desire, and those who stood in the realm of gods, especially the old gods, showed obsessive colors and looked like they were ready to move. Martin pondered for a moment, but did not swallow the sources, but directly sealed them up. DC's soul god is very peculiar. They can rebirth possessing others' body at will, and perfectly inherit their original strength. They rely on the power of the source and need to study more. Martin thought about it, and at the same time stepped up to the throne that was high, which should have been the position of Darkseid. Now it belongs to Martin. At this time, a deity finally couldn't bear it, and came one after another. Outsider, you have killed Darkseid and have everything about him. Tell us where you came from. Our patience has reached its limit, don't challenge us again and again. You claim that killing Darkseid will give birth to hope. That's why we endured and waited quietly for you to kill Darkseid. Now, tell us where you came from. There is another what purpose. Numerous terrifying voices sounded, pushing towards Martin from all directions. But Martin looked cold and shattered the oppression in a flash. He sat on the throne, stepped on the star of Apocalypse, and stared at these gods indifferently. I come from Marvel Multi-Universe. It is a world bigger than the world inside the wall. Several multi-universes coexist. Martin opened his mouth. The movements of the many gods suddenly stopped, and immediately, they showed fiery colors, and they all stared at Martin, with urgency and excitement on his face. How many multi-universe coexist? What a vast new world this is. Is it a new world called Marvel? Listening to this shocking remarks, all the gods fell into a state of madness, but ghost and phantom strangers showed their doubts. Diaresis? Marvel, is there this world in the almighty universe? The many creation gods from the land of origin have created many worlds. The world inside the wall is just one of them, but I have never heard of Marvel Multi-Universe. And several multi-universes coexist. This it simply doesn't conform to the rules of the creation of the place of origin. Ghost communicated with the ghost stranger, sweating heavily with doubts. Ghost as DC's vengeful spirit, the incarnation of the anger of the supreme god, while the ghost stranger's identity is a mystery, suspected to be the reincarnation of Judas in the myth. The two of them are old partners, and at the same time, they are rare ones who can enter and exit the wall of origin at will. They have the protection of Emperor, and the wall of origin cannot stop them at all. But, as knowledgeable and ancient as the two of them, they have never heard of the existence of a world called Marvel in the almighty universe outside the wall. I have had contact with the creation gods and judgment gods in the land of origin. There is no Marvel world where multiple multi-universes coexist. This kind of world does not conform to the basic rules of creation. At the moment of birth, will be destroyed. Finally, Ghost spoke. This green-robed, possessive god was angry and stared directly at Martin. Martin's face was cold, and he said solemnly, Ghost, don't use your narrow eyes to define my endless vision. In the conventional sense, the DC world, to put it bluntly, refers to the world inside the wall, the realm of gods plus the light multi-universe and the dark multi-universe. Until the metal event, the three giants of Junglian forced to open the hang, and overturned the dark multi-universe overlord Barbados, and blasted a hole in the wall of origin with one blow, connecting to the unknown world outside the wall for an unprecedented amount of time. The entire omnipotent view of the universe of DC Comics has just begun to be displayed at the tip of the iceberg. The whole world within the wall, The poor narrow world, you understand, is nothing more than a great and sad flaw. The creation goddess Perpetua created this multi-universe, but suffered 3 errors: the world, the betrayal of the caster, the watcher, and the counter-monitor. Together with the visitors from the land of origin, the 4 gods joined forces to seal the goddess of creation in the wall of origin. Martin sat firmly on the throne. His voice was flat, but he told a sensation in the entire realm of gods. The family of monitors, to put it plainly, is the family of observers in the DC world. They are responsible for monitoring the universe and maintaining the balance of the universe. Under normal circumstances, they will not participate in level universe events, but once multiple level universe events erupt, the watchers will end up personally and intervene. This group generally arranges a monitor in each universe. Among the many monitors, the most famous are the positive monitors of the positive matter universe and the anti-monitors of the antimatter universe. Martin's words caused an uproar. The figures moved swiftly, and they surrounded the strong anti-monitor who were eating melons, and dozens of figures blocked the poor anti-monitor in the center. The anti-monitor was dumbfounded at the time. Damn it, this is trouble. The anti-monitor was stupid on the spot, dumbfounded, and even felt a trembling from the soul. Why does this outsider named Martin know so much about the creation story of the world inside the wall? The anti-monitor's heart coexisted with anger and panic. Originally, as the ruler of the bright multi-universe antimatter universe, as the youngest son of the goddess of creation, the anti-monitor didn't care about Martin's origins at all. From other multi-universe. Oh, but so. His counter-monitor is not comparable to these idiot gods who know nothing about the outside world. It was he who sealed the goddess of creation with his own hands and built the wall of origin following the existence of the place of origin. He should be the one who didn't care about Martin's origins the most. But now, this bastard outsider actually stripped his identity directly? Mobius, is Martin saying true or false? You are the heir of the goddess of creation. You participated in the battle to seal the goddess of creation. So, you must also know what the wall of origin is, and what should you do? Break this wall. In the beginning, you created the infinite Earth crisis and destroyed the entire multi-universe almost permanently. In the end, it was Superman Clark and the others who tried their best to save 52 universes. I doubt that what you did was related to the origin. The wall is related. A horrible existence blocked the anti-monitor Mobius, each with a ferocious gaze, each showing a bloodthirsty cold light, almost going crazy. In 3 eras, 3 epochs in total, countless amazing and brilliant gods fell into self-doubt after understanding all the mysteries of the world inside the wall, and finally began to risk their deaths to attack the wall of origin, wanting to take a look at the unknown outside the wall. As a result, without exception, Quanta Mo was hung on the wall. It was better to live than to die, and it became something like a power bank, which was continuously pumped out of energy by the wall of origin. The anti-monitor growled. I have known you for 3 whole epochs. You would rather doubt me, but also believe this outsider who doesn't know the details. Who knows if what he said is true or false? A group of anti-monitors panicked. If he admits, these crazy guys will tear him up by themselves. Ghost and Phantom Stranger didn't even look at the counter-monitor, but stared at Martin, with a look of surprise in their eyes. As I said, you are all a bunch of poor bugs. You think you know the truth of the world, but in my opinion, it's just a sad interpretation of that has come to a more ridiculous cognition. The world is wonderful, it's beyond imagination. Ghost, even if you are God's wrath, how much do you know about the almighty universe? How much can you interpret if the upper limit of your strength is only the multi-level universe? Martin controlled the throne to fly up, confronting the gods in the high-dimensional void of the realm of gods, from beginning to end, with a kind of indifferent, more condescending overlooking, that indifferent gaze, as if not looking at a group of powerful gods, but looking at a group of soil turtles. This made the gods feel aggrieved, but they were also shocked, showing more confidence in Martin. This kind of excellent knowledge, the horror and confidence that crushed everything, shocked them. Megatron, god of knowledge, is Martin saying true or not? The smile on the golden Superman's face gradually disappeared, at the moment turned his head to look at an existence sitting on a peculiar seat, and asked in a deep voice. Megatron, the god of knowledge, owns the chair of knowledge, the chair of Mobius. He should have the knowledge of the world inside the wall, knowing everything, but at the moment is also confused. He knows a shit. He relied on that chair to become the god of knowledge, but that chair was built by me, and I lost it not long ago. The anti-monitor was cursing. The chair of knowledge is his most high-tech creation, using the most high-tech creations from the Watcher family outside the wall. It was only thrown away by him not long ago. As a result, Metron picked it up and sat on it, which became knowledge. God. Worldview within the DC wall. The wall of origin plus the realm of gods, the high-dimensional realm where the worlds such as hell, heaven, and heaven are located, plus multi-universe, light multi-universe plus dark multi-universe. Multi-universe subdivided. Light multi-universe, the multi-universe where Batman, Superman, etc. are located, can be seen as the front of a piece of paper, but also the world known to readers, plus dark multi-universe. Baba, the god of bats, Toss, laughing Batman, etc. are in a world full of distortions and sins. It is the opposite of a piece of paper. Bright multi-universe subdivided. The positive matter universe, 52 universes and special universes such as the heavenly universe are all positive matter universes, which are the domains of positive monitors, plus antimatter universe. Triggered the Avengers vs. Avengers Alliance event. There is only one of the little blue man named Karana who did an experiment, but it is 32 trillion light-years in diameter, which is outrageously large and ruled by the anti-monitor. I originally wanted to quickly popularize DC's worldview and the top gods in these chapters, but I found that I can't pull too much, otherwise there is a suspicion of the number of water words, so I will spread it out a little bit in the future plots, and at the same time ensure the rhythm, content and popular science. Don't worry about not understanding it. The anti-monitor was extremely irritable and cursed. Metron, the god of knowledge, showed a deep confusion. Chair. Answer my question. Who is Martin? Where is Marvel multi-universe? Who is the goddess of creation? Metron asked repeatedly. But the chair of Mobius who sat down was just a powerful brilliance from his debut, and he was stuck directly, unable to answer these questions. Seeing this scene, all the gods understand, and the god of knowledge is unreliable. This is a blind zone of knowledge. They looked at the counter-surveillance gaze more and more unkind, fierce gleaming. Martin looked at them with a sneer, and said lightly, "You are the poor bugs imprisoned in the wall. You don't know anything about the grandeur of the outside world, but I can bring you new hope. I will open the door to Marvel multi-universe for you. The glorious world where several multi-universes coexist will open the door to you. Whether it's killing or peaceful, it's up to you to choose. The god was beaten to death, don't blame me. Definitely not. To explore a new world, you must take the risk yourself. It is good to stay in the world inside the wall forever after you die." Sanomia sneered and said, the 6 eyes showed tyrannical meaning, and the red skin was on the skin. Burning the terrible hellfire. Sanomia, DC's greatest demon, has the same status as Ceterak on Marvel's side. More gods began to restless, even gods with justice in their hearts were also full of curiosity about the outside world. Then when will you give us your hope? The golden Superman exudes a strong high-dimensional aura, and asked faintly. Martin calmly said, "It won't be long, I still need some puzzles. You have all waited for 3 epochs, and you have almost lost hope in waiting, so it's not too late for me." Looking at him one after another, looking at Martin, who was so calm and arrogant and wise from beginning to end, the gods showed hesitation, and finally nodded, suppressing the restlessness in his heart. "We definitely won't lack patience, we just hope you act as soon as possible. No matter what you need, just speak up, we will definitely help if we can help. But don't forget, we do this, including waiting, for the new hope you said. This should not be your excuse or reason to drive us. Once we find that you can't do it, we will not hesitation kill you. No matter how strong you are, you can't fight against the god system of our entire world inside the wall." There was a sound of harmony, and some gods directly conveyed the image of cooperation, wanting to get a channel to Otherworld from Martin as soon as possible. What if there is a limit on the number of people for this hope? The gods who start quickly have hope, but those who start slowly don't. What if the opened cross multi-universe channel cannot carry more gods? Several multi-universe coexisting worlds, they just need to think about it, and they feel a turmoil for a while. The attraction for them, who are imprisoned in the wall like a caged beast, is simply too fatal. They are willing to pay all the price, just to get the hope in Martin's mouth. After talking for a while, a horrible god left one after another. They were waiting for Martin to fulfill his promise. "Why don't you go?" Martin sat on the throne and looked at the 2 guys in front of him calmly. Ghost and Phantom Stranger. These 2 have appeared in many diversified level universe events and are extremely active. Fortunately, the Phantom Strangers are mostly soy saucers. They can move their mouths and never hands, and they can run away and never fight. Ghost is more troublesome. This guy has a noble background. There are not many gods in the entire DC that are more noble than Ghost, and because they are the incarnation of God's anger, they naturally hold the power of judgment. "My instinct tells me that you have a conspiracy. Ghost said in a deep voice, looking at Martin's gaze, a little uncertain. He was wondering whether to attack Martin. Martin, the guy who suddenly appeared without warning, is really weird, even more weird than the Dr. Manhattan, who also came from the world of Warden outside of the DC world. Moreover, it feels more dangerous and unkind to Ghost. Your brain is not good. Martin looked at him in surprise. If I had no conspiracy, what would I have come here to do? How stupid are you to ask this kind of question? I'm not a good person. Ghost's face was gloomy, and he slowly raised his hand, about to act on Martin, but was stopped by the Phantom Stranger. You are now attacking him. The other gods will not let you go, Phantom Moke whispered. Ghost gritted his teeth, snorted coldly, and said in a cold voice, Martin, I don't believe in your nonsense. What marvel? What multiple multi-universes coexist? There is no such world in the almighty universe. The place of origin. The judgment gods will not allow this structured world to exist at all. Abandoning these words, Ghost suppressed the anger in his heart and left with Phantom Stranger. Only Martin remained, quietly overlooking the realm of gods. The place of origin. The most mysterious place of origin of the world on the DC side is located in an unknown area outside the wall. Martin whispered quietly.